Did you know that 2 out of 3 men will experience some form of hair loss by the time they're 35? It's true. More than 50 million men in the US suffer from male pattern baldness. And there's something to do about it. It's Keeps. Keeps offers a simple, stress-free way to keep your hair. They've got convenient virtual doctor consultations and medications that are delivered straight to your door every 3 months. You don't even have to leave your home. It's low cost. Treatments start at just $10 a month. And Keeps offers generic versions of the same quality ingredients that are out there, proven to work. Discreet packaging, proven results. If you're ready to take action and prevent hair loss, go to keeps.com/bomb to receive your first month of treatment for free. That's keeps.com/bomb to get your first month for free. keeps.com/bomb. This episode is brought to you by Unleashed with the Dingo and Danny, a new podcast fueled by Monster Energy. What? Yeah, they don't want me to. All right, fine. Unleashed gets up close and personal with the best in alternative action and motorsports. Get ready for untold stories, career-defining moments, and inside secrets from the world's best athletes and trailblazers. Don't miss out on all the action. New episodes drop every 2 weeks on Mondays. Listen wherever you get your podcasts or watch on Monster Energy's YouTube. Unleash with Danny and the Dingo, fueled by Monster Energy. Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's the Giant Bombcast for June 29th, the final podcast for June 2021. Oh, gosh. Well, that's a very momentous occasion, finally here to celebrate it.
We're here.
I'm Jeff Gerstmann, joined by special guest Jeff Grubb. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing good. I'm glad that you finally met the Jeff threshold, finally, and we can move on from this terrible nightmare of not enough Jeffs.
So. There's still a few slots here that I think we could probably...
I didn't want to say anything.
Yes, particularly the ones at the bottom.
Yeah.
Not
like what's Jeff Cork doing these days? I know Jeff Green's consulting. Like maybe, there's some...
I was on Jeff Kanata's show. He said he seemed open to it. He seemed open. So
okay. All right. Yeah. All right.
You've heard of that, Jeff.
Yeah, those are all J's, right? Those are all. We don't have to go to the bottom of the barrel to get Keeley.
No, that's
bring up that spelling.
That's not a real thing.
Topic.
That's
come on. He's not invited to the meetings.
That's like a Toys R Us marketing guy came up with that spelling. That's no one actually uses that. Jeff Bacalar, what were your parents going to name you if they didn't name you Jeff?
They always tell me that I'd be Jessica, if not, Jeff.
Jeffica.
That's about it. Jeffica then became a thing for a brief part of my life. That's about it, though. I don't know anything else. All I know is that if you tell your child a lot that they wanted to name you a different name this whole time, it starts to confuse and perhaps upset them as they grow later on in life. Just a tip for the new parents out there.
My mom calls me Jep a lot, and no one knows why. And I'm like convinced that she almost wanted to name me Geppetto, and this is like her way of like getting in there. I don't get what that's about, but Jep is my nickname for her. So yeah,
yeah,
interesting.
I was about to ask if your mom was part Filipino.
No,
and that's why she didn't pronounce it.
Yeah. Jan Choa is here as well. How you doing?
That's me. My family used to call me OJ for the longest time, and I think I've mentioned this. And then my one uncle, who's kind of a jerk, said, "Oh, it's because you liked orange juice so much, not because of whatever reasons it wound up being." Very confusing to be watching the O.J. Simpson murder trial as a child, though.
Yeah.
Because I was like, is it me? But thankfully,
they're looking for you.
They were looking for like a 2-3-year-old.
When he says we're going to find the real killers, I think he's going to kick down your door one of these days. And
that was my nickname. My whole life until a very specific moment, it stopped being my nickname.
Yeah, there's probably a handful of those over the years. Really, Danny O'Dwyer, fresh off of the heels of watching Footy.
Yeah. Watching England, finally, they did it. They beat Germany. They have restored their national pride. I don't know. They're pretty jazzed about it. Congratulations to all of England for defeating the Germans again for the first time.
Yeah, everything's good now.
Yeah, football's coming home.
I didn't take any of these emails, but this week we got, I'm going to say, no fewer than 5 emails from people, whether they were from Wales or Ireland, just saying "fuck England." So the beef is alive.
Yeah, the beef. It's a real. That's why that's why they call me Beef O'Brady, because I have
Beef O'Brady's
tried very
Beef
hard.
Zone is one of the new shows coming to Giant Bomb.
Yeah, where I can't
actually say that out loud because people.
No, exactly. You'll manifest it into creation. You don't need the Irish guy talking about. We didn't even make it into the tournament, so who am I to say anything about the performance of any team? Congratulations,
you're allowed
England.
to. I feel like
most
soccer fans take that liberty. Sorry,
England
football fans.
Nobody wants England to ever win any game except for England fans. This is the cost of imperialism and exporting their sport to the rest of the world, is that nobody else ever wants England to win. And we probably all take quite a decent amount of pleasure in that. So I'm
the one major cost of imperialism is this thing right here. Yes, exactly.
If your national
the second major cost is Eurovision voting, right? I mean,
right? Yeah.
Actually, that kind of helps, because if you're a modern imperialist country, then you get all those Eastern Bloc countries who are all like voting for each other. They're kind of like wink, wink, hammer, sickle. Let's we're gonna win this one. Democracy, eh? Wink, wink, and leaves the rest of us in the lurch. So in that respect, us and England actually have a lot in common in terms of our Eurovision success in contemporary years.
Fantastic. There were 4 kids in the middle of my street last night. I think they were trying to play rugby. I don't know what they were doing. They were two,
in the streets?
They were 2 on a side. They were like kicking the football at each other and trying to hit each other with it.
What?
Hell
yeah. Rugby, you're trying to hold on to the ball as much as possible.
Well, they were like holding it. Yeah, I don't. For a second, I was like, are you inventing a new type of cricket? And then I just because I was taking out the garbage, so I didn't want to stare and stare and be like, what the fuck are you guys doing? But
where would the 2 be in cricket 2? It'd be like the replace the R, right? Kutu ricket, yeah.
Cricket, yeah. And
did you ever make up sports? Remember those long summers where you would just pour
all the time, baby?
Yeah, variants.
Sake.
Sake. What's sake?
Yeah, that's a drink.
Like a rice wine.
Yes, not SAKI. Sake, like soccer, hockey, where you could.
Same thing.
Well, it's cold.
Those are the same thing. You might as well be like, and it's also lacrosse. Like what?
No, because the game can only be played in basements, in carpeted basements.
Got it.
And you have all players on their knees. And it's and you basically have a goalie with a stick who has a goal stick, but everyone else can either kick or slap the ball
with their
hands.
You
don't want to give sticks to everybody, because then you just have like a total slash fest on your hands, and then you got
too much equipment and
holes in the wall.
And I mean, believe me, there are plenty of holes in that weak ass sheetrock, but sake. That's I grew up on it. It's what turned me into the person I am today.
It explains a lot.
I've learned so much.
Yeah, well, that's I got my number hanging in the rafters there.
The Sake Hall of Fame,
the basement.
Good concussion protocol there in Sake, I'm sure. Yeah,
absolutely. It's sort of like, you all right? Yep. Come on back.
Kind of a full contact on the knees there. Just everyone kind of crawling around.
Because when you're like 14 and 15, your knees can just take that thrashing. You know, like it doesn't matter. If I tried to do this now, I feel like I would bleed almost instantaneously.
From your knees or just
from
like
my, just like knees, elbows. Like I watch my kid do. He does it. He doesn't know he's doing it. He does it, but his knees, you know, they're pure. They haven't been roughened up just yet. He'll get there. He'll get there.
Wow, that's amazing. The sake is so ingrained in your DNA of your household that your son has learned it without even having to like be taught it.
Osmosis,
like a bird.
Yeah. Just
like
gets it through the DNA. It's a DNA memory chain. Yeah. I'm looking in the chat. Everyone's like, I have played this game before. So I'm not. And the goal is not a real goal. You have to use some sort of table that exists in the house with 4 legs, and then you cushion off the sides to give you the entrap sort of goal. So in my house growing up, it was an old like miniature billiards table. It was the perfect soccer
changes.
goal.
It's like a baseball field. It's like the dimensions aren't standard.
Hence the home court advantage, depending on
the green monster,
where
the tiny pool table. That's
It evolved over the years. Like we would add rules where like if you shot the ball beyond a certain area that was taped off, you got 2 goals instead of 1. The goalie could then earn goals back by like hitting targets. It's a great game. You know, one day we'll do the quick run. You know,
we'll have to read the well written out and very well archived rules of the game and figure that out. I would have thought that you would have gone to more of a tipped over laundry basket as goal sort of thing.
Oh no, you need more of that action. Yeah,
More action.
More action.
Well, I do like action, and that's we are in the process of bringing some action to GiantBomb.com, and we are here to talk about and announce our first couple of shows. As you might have surmised, one of them is coming from Jeff Grubb.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
I didn't just sneak on the show for no reason. I'm gonna do Grub Snacks, I think, is what we're gonna call this thing.
So good. Sure. That's why not.
I mean,
can I show the logo? Can I show the logo?
Yeah, show the logo and listen,
please.
Phil. Tibbs, if you
desperately want people to see that.
You want to fight about it?
Yeah, me too. Yeah, if you want to fight about it, we can settle this.
Yeah.
We can settle this. I meant to actually DM and ask, say, hey, is this cool? I guess we could still do that. But listen, it's Grub Snacks. It's going to be kind of a new show where I talk to the audience. I'll probably come with some try to bring some new news each week, or at least talk about the big topic. And I'm very passionate about explaining why stuff is happening and why these companies make decisions that they make. So I'll try to come at it from that angle. And then I'll take questions. The people seem to have a lot of questions about what is happening, what's coming next. People seem to prefer it over actually playing video games sometimes. And hey, listen, I'm not here to shame anybody. It's going to make a show, so I'm okay with it. But yeah, we're going to start this Thursday, and I hope people tune in. I think the first episode is going to be free, right? It's going to be open for everybody, but it'll be on giantbomb.com/chat. Is that the best place to get
here,
it?
the same page people are watching this right here. This will be a live show. Yeah, news has been, I you know, obviously over the years, I think, like news about games and how it gets out there and how people talk about it has evolved.
Yes.
I'm thinking like back in the day, like the pre-Kotaku days, it was like very much like, okay, this is a company handing you a press release and that's the news. And you know, when you found stuff out, it was a news team contacting the company and being like, tell me more about this, and parlaying that into some kind of exclusive or something like that. Whereas now, between social media and everything, like it feels like a much more wild and woolly world. Jeff Grubb, you have found your name popping up in a lot of different news stories over the last year or so, be it for a Dead Space reboot or a lot of Starfield stuff over the past couple of months here. How do these things work these days? I mean, I feel like I roughly know, but like, I'm not asking, hey, who are your sources or anything like that, but
I am. Oh, never mind.
Oh my God, there we go. There we go.
But like, you know, like there's been just a lot of different variants of the like rumor mill stuff on the internet over the years, and nowadays it seems like the Switch Pro thing's probably a really good example recently, where you had a lot of people that had like some cachet as like being like, I am a leaker, I leak things and I do this and I'm accurate with this Nintendo news. Everyone seemed very certain about the Switch Pro news getting announced ahead of E3 and all this other stuff. What does that landscape look like, and how does that stuff happen?
Yeah, I think there was that period between like what you described in like the early days, and I grew up reading like Quarterman and EGM or whatever, and so there was always like this thirst for rumors and for leaks and stuff like that. But I think for a big period there, it was like the friend DA zone where people would hear stuff and wouldn't be able to talk about it. And I think what's happened recently, what's happened for me is, I'm in a situation where the people I talk to understand that. I want to be able to report the stuff out there and get it out there for people to hear it. And, if that's okay with you, then we'll do that. If it's not okay, just let me know. I think the weird thing that's happened is I think a lot of people got an idea in their head about what gaming news should specifically be. And I think it's happened mostly because Jason Schreier's made it seem like, hey, we're going to tell stories about what's happening to developers. And I thought that's what it was too for a very long time. Like, that's what I should be trying to do. But it's actually people might not know this, very hard to compete with Jason Schreier on those stories. And so I tried to like step back and look at it and say, is there another audience I could be speaking to? And it turns out there is a big thirsty audience for just speak to us about what's going to happen next. And even if it's just in vague terms about when we're going to hear about these things, people really appreciate that. And that's actually the thing that really kind of, I think, propelled me is I was just providing a simple calendar with some leaked dates for some events, and people appreciated that. And I think the difference was really realizing that when I'm writing or when I'm speaking to an audience on a podcast, that I am talking to, I'm writing for the readers and I'm not writing for the developers. And that's been the writing that line has been difficult because the developers and publishers got used to a certain relationship where they could expect us to sit on a lot of this stuff. But and that's, and I don't necessarily always want to spoil everything. Like the Dead Space thing, I was very much trying to talk around that. We didn't even say the name. It was so weird that game name was trending that weekend after we mentioned it on the podcast. But at a certain point, once it's out there and everybody's talking about it and everyone seems to know, like, you mentioned last week, the exact same thing that I heard. It's a reboot. It's a reboot that's going to be kind of along the lines of, I think people are going to see it and they're going to be like, oh, they're kind of doing the Resident Evil 2 remake thing. That's what I expect people to say when they see this thing. And so, but when it comes to like actually conveying this information to people, it is trying to respect that there are people who are working hard to provide a fun experience to when these games do get announced, and not necessarily just trying to sweep the legs out from under them every single time, but also recognizing that that's not my audience. Keeping the developers and publishers happy is not my responsibility. I am speaking to a different audience, and it's okay to prioritize them. And also, I think we saw with Microsoft at E3 that these companies are very good at still executing, even when people seem to know their entire lineup. We kind of mostly knew exactly what they were going to talk about at E3, and yet they still impressed because of the execution. And so it's like they could still nail that side of it. And just because people know about Dead Space doesn't mean that's not going to be a very exciting moment when that happens. And so it's just taking all those things into consideration, trying to make sure that people are also kind of having a good time. That's kind of one thing that I've realized that people also appreciate. It's like it's video games. We can kind of make it fun. We can kind of focus on the fun side of stuff, and there's plenty of room for a different kind of reporting. And I think there's more room for this reporting right now than ever. And it is weird to get lumped in with the leakers, where it's like, Jeff Grubb is a leaker, or the leaker Jeff Grubb, frequent leaker. I think
you kind of get lumped in with some of those folks sometimes. But I mean, you're a reporter, and your day job is literally in the news, like that's all that stuff. So so it's weird to to be in there and kind of be lumped in with everyone else there, and kind of not have people really understand what the job is. But again, that's not their responsibility to understand my job. That's on me. And really, it's just trying to walk those lines and make sure that make sure it's also kind of just feels like I'm putting out the stories out there that will either help people understand the industry or will kind of explain, like with the Dead Space thing, there's multiple sides to that. Like, why are they going back to Dead Space? Why not Mirror's Edge? Well, Mirror's Edge, they did a sequel and they felt really burned by it because people kept saying, hey, we really want this game. And people didn't buy it enough. And EA really that's one of the big reasons they backed off of single player games, is because of that game. And so
there's a story there, but there's a reason why these companies are making these decisions. Why now are they going back to Dead Space? And I think they looked at Capcom and seen them have a lot of success and saying, why are we missing out on that? So it's not always just about spoiling things. It's really trying to explain what's happening in the industry. And I just find it fun. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's important. I think that's something we've tried to do over the years, is try to give people a somewhat deeper understanding. And you have people that will listen to it and understand that, and you have people who will not. And yes. I at some point I let go of like, okay, you can't hold everyone's hand all the time. Some people are just going to get mad no matter what and be like, oh, you're saying this to bury, you're just trying to bury the PlayStation somehow while doing this. Like, I don't, but
yeah, that Starfield thing where it was like, it's not coming to PlayStation. Like, I tried to explain the reasoning behind that. Like, Microsoft definitely considered a lot of different options. People say, oh, they spent $7.5 billion. They're definitely going to make this stuff exclusive. And they absolutely considered, they sent, they have like thousands of employees. They have people that are like, hey, can you go look at what would happen if we made this, release these games on PlayStation as opposed to keeping them all exclusive? What would happen? They ran all the numbers. They looked at it and they said, hey, it's going to be worth the money if we keep this exclusive because of what it will do for Game Pass. It's just the stuff that makes sense. But Microsoft absolutely considered that stuff. And, you try to explain that side of it and people only hear the one thing, oh, it's not coming to PlayStation. And but there are people that want to hear the why, and they show up consistently for like when I'm doing my work. And so keep just writing for them. And so far it's going good. Cool.
Well, we will be bringing a chunk of that to Giant Bomb Premium members every Thursday on Thursdays here. And I am excited. I'll be in that chat going like, why do you hate video games?
Where's Starfield, liar?
Why don't you leak screenshots of Starfield? I know you have it. All that stuff.
That's
you get in there, you keep asking me about Karnov and I'll be happy, and we'll like build that buzz.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like I want Microsoft running the numbers on what a Karnov reboot looks like. If they have to go out and acquire it from, I guess Gmode would own it now, and like figuring out like, okay, how do we make a Karnov versus Mr. Do sort of thing.
Do the real work.
Yeah, I mean, they keep talking about, like, I think it was just this last week, they were like, we want to bring back Killer Instinct. It's just waiting for the right time. I'm like, well, just start with guest characters. I mean, go get a Karnov, go get a Mr. Do.
There you
go.
Done.
You're done.
Mm-hmm.
Put Iron Galaxy on it. They made that last one. They finished that last one. They would do good. Danny O'Dwyer also here. We've got another announcement of new programming.
I just want to say right off the bat, the names are nowhere near as good as Grubb's next. That's like, jeez Louise.
Well, young horses are out there on Twitter. I don't,
Yeah, they're upset because we officially don't know who came up with the name. They've
deployed a Drew Scanlon image on the internet here, and so I don't. We'll have to,
which is as good as a lawsuit, right? So
I think now we're even. Since that's our IP that they're using.
There you go.
Right. Yes. There you go.
Even.
Perfect. Yes. So Danny, let's talk about it.
Sure.
Let's get into it. You were on Twitter yesterday talking about you and Timur, these old photos. I heard that I just saw an article today that jean shorts were coming back. So these photos
never went away.
Well, that's I got rid of most of mine, and
no. She sold it. It's like Bitcoin. You sold it the wrong time. You should have been hoarding those. Timur still has the shirt that he was wearing, which is impressive.
No way.
Because he's about half the size. That man has gone through some. He's done the glow up. People were like, "Man, I can't believe I don't even recognize Timur." And they're like, "Oh yeah, Danny, you look like the same dirtbag you always were." So
really,
nice
dirtbag.
Nice to know I'm consistent. I'm editorializing, but that's what I saw. Minding on what they read. That's what I saw. I couldn't do. I wanted to do one show that was did a lot of cool like camera work and filmed in person and reminded me of like the early days of Giant Bomb where you guys were sort of like guerrilla recording and covering weird games and stuff. But I also knew I couldn't do that on like a weekly basis. So I've got two shows, one that's sort of like lower production and it'll be 3 weeks on with that one. And then on the fourth week, it'll be the other show, which is high production, and then back to the other one. So it's kind of like, you know, once a month for one of them and 3 times a month for the other, basically. The one I'm doing with Tamor is riffing off of the other, you know, favorite shows that I loved on Giant Bomb, which have been the endurance runs. It's not a classic endurance run. The title of the show has it in it, though. We're calling it Born to Run, and it's not a Bloodborne playthrough or endurance run. I mean, Jan literally did that during quarantine. It would be ridiculous to go back
very poorly, I will say.
You did. I thought you finished it, which is the most important thing. It's not Bloodborne, it's Soulsborne. So it's an endurance run in the fact that we are going to play, you know, upwards of 5, I guess, probably by the time we're doing this, 6 games, myself and Tamor going through them. And it's kind of like a spiritual successor to Endurance Run, because it's not daily. It's not the sort of like daily grind that you guys did on so many of those games. Obviously, it's sort of like every week. And we're also going to like we're going to strategize it. So the idea is that there are a lot of people who have never played these games, and there are a lot of people who will never. Like that ship has sailed for them. So what we want to do is basically do a playthrough. I'm green to a lot of these games. I've only completed Bloodborne, and I've done half of Demon Souls. I've never played Dark Souls 2, 3, or Sekiro, and I've done a little bit of Dark Souls Remastered, whereas Tamor knows them all. So I'm playing. I'm going to try and complete all of them. Tamor is sitting in the seat. He's basically going to be nudging me in directions, and the two of us are sort of explaining how the game works. And then each episode will be a truncated version of the full playthrough. It won't be raw. We're actually editing them a bit. Just, you know, if it takes me 12 attempts to kill Maneater, we won't have you sit through the 12 attempts. It's going to be edited down.
Just maybe the deaths. Just
yeah, exactly. Yeah. We're going to keep in, as Tamor said, we're going to keep in the bants and the deaths. So plenty of banter and plenty of me dying. So it's a blast, and it's an excuse for me and Tamor. I mean, we had a podcast together like 13 years ago. He used to come over to my apartment in London, and we used to do playthroughs and stuff, and we kind of missed each other at GameSpot. Like, he was at GameSpot before me, and then at a different after me as well in the UK, and then here. So I'm just really happy to be able to sit down and play with Tamor again. And the first episode will be going up on Monday.
Yes, sir.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So he really does still have this shirt, huh? Wow.
He does.
He does,
I did a little detective work, apparently so.
And should I tell about the other one?
Yeah,
Sure,
whatever you're.
yeah.
I mean, you know, we don't necessarily have to give it all away here, but yeah, it's some details. Let's hear a little bit about it.
So the other one is basically a show, kind of in the no clip, like documentary style, kind of like our show Greatest Hits over there, where it's kind of an investigation into a game. But I'm not going to be picking the games. You guys are going to be picking the games. So each episode, I'm going to focus on one duder, and then eventually I'm sure we'll cover you all off, and we'll have to talk to friends of Giant Bomb. But one of you is going to be the focus. Gersman, you're very graciously put your hand up for episode 1. And we're going to focus on, the idea is to focus on a game that you love, but never got sort of mainstream attention or love. Chances are this is a game I've never played. So you're going to pitch it to me at the start. I'm going to go away and do the research. We're going to film the boxes. We're going to do like the whole like treatment to it. And then at the end, I'm going to go interview in person you, and basically like take all that I've learned about the game and sort of make you justify why this game should have sort of gotten more love, or why it means a lot to you. It's called Guilty Treasures, and the first episode will be up at the end of this month. And you've picked the game, and it's a real like question marker for me. And I did some research. I was like, oh, this is cool.
I was like, for the first episode, I was like, this might be too like this might be too old for the footage to be dynamic enough, or this might be like, I was just like trying to picture it, but I was like, no, this is a game that jumps out to me. This is a game I still probably play once a year, if not more. And it's I don't know. It's an offbeat game that I don't necessarily think is an amazing video game, but I love it. So it's I'm excited. I'm excited to talk to someone else who has played it, because I never have.
Oh wow, okay, that's awesome. And that's the most important thing, is that people that weren't, I wanted it to be like games people are really excited to talk about, because it's like, because the thing is, like, I could have easily done a show where it was like, tell me about your favorite game, or we could go genre by genre, but it's 2011. It's not 2011. It's 2021 on the internet now. Everyone's talked about all the great games. So how are we going to make a show that is about like your guys' love for games, and also like kind of games that don't usually get this type of treatment? So it's going to be fun to see what people pick, because some games are going to be way more idiosyncratic than others, I guess. And the one we're starting off with is like a real, I'm looking forward to the challenge on this one. I think it's going to be like, people are going to be like, what is that game? I think for a lot of folks.
Yeah, it'll be a what, and then followed up with a why. What? Okay. Yeah.
So it should be fun.
Awesome.
Looking forward to filming.
For the folks spectating
Danny,
in chat live now, I am not going to pick the bouncer. There.
Okay.
Danny,
I think your episode too as well.
Show? Maybe do an addendum. Like an offshoot of this. Like, make a live broadcast where you put the game in a box and make chat like guess what it is before you actually do the thing. I think it just builds tension, and people would be like, want to know it so bad that by the time you do the show, people will be so invested that they'll have to watch.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what's in there. Yeah,
and then it gets revealed on Grub Snacks.
It gets revealed.
There we go.
I'll leak it. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
We can have it like slightly out of focus. Like, I'll have a camera with a focus ring that is out of focus by a lot, and over the course of a week, it slowly becomes more in focus. Yeah.
People be like tearing themselves apart to figure out what it is. I agree.
I'll just be in the corner of Giant Bomb Infinite for a week, just slowly. Actually, I don't know that we have the tech to do that right. Awesome.
But yeah,
awesome. So that stuff's all coming pretty soon.
Yeah, and I know we talked a little bit about the how this is going to roll out. So Grub Snacks, Born to Run, Guilty Treasures. We're gonna have a situation where like the first pilot show, the first episode is free for all, and then following shows will be premium in the series, and that'll be accompanied by like a nice little, what do you call it, like a little highlight trailer.
Yeah, like a truncated,
episode.
like a quick hits version of it.
Taste.
Like a snack. Like a snack. Yeah,
like some would call it like like a Grub Snacks, something like that. A little morsel, little delicious little morsel.
And
that'll be on like YouTube and the site, or
like that'll be kind of like the version that like, hey, check out what we're doing over here type stuff. So yeah, that stuff's happening. Giant Bomb Premium's on sale right now. If you're interested in that, that's giantbomb.com/upgrade. If you want to check that out, and we got these shows coming at you very soon. So I'm looking forward to it. That's exciting.
Totally.
I'm also looking forward to talking about video games.
There's a lot this week. We're after E3.
Yeah, for like a post E3 for like a June, but we are kind of, well, maybe that doesn't matter. I was gonna say it is like the last week of the quarter, right? So you do get those releases kind of bunched up, but it's not so much like that anymore. But there's definitely some stuff. Mario Golf seems like the biggest game of the week. A handful of you have played it. Jan, you golfing? How you golfing?
I've learned
how you golf?
Very, very poorly. And it turns out, even if I'm Mario or anyone in the Mario family, I still golf very poorly. I really like the original Mario Golf games specifically. I think there was one on the Game Boy.
Yeah, Game Boy Color. That's the one everyone points to. It's like it was in Wicked RPG. Like it was just awesome, and they don't make them like that anymore.
And that was great. And I really liked Mario Tennis, the one that came on the Switch, and I know that like was real hot for a good month, and then it kind of like dipped out. And then Mario Golf is here, and it's a weird approach in how they kind of just throw you into the game. Like it starts with a real good hype trailer of all the Mario family playing golf and like whacking each other off with golf clubs and like golf clubs.
I was like, hell yeah, I'm gonna go buy this right now.
No king shaming. All right.
Yeah, Mario Golf is all about family, much like the Fast franchise. Only this family's a little bit closer.
Yeah, seems like it.
Oh boy. Um, and unlike how Mario Tennis kind of like started you softly into learning the mechanics of everything, this kind of just throws you into like, hey, here's like these 3 loading pages that you can kind of learn how to play golf with. And yeah, they just kind of throw you off to the races with like the beginner course and then a second set of 18 holes. And I think the two of the newest additions to this is that there's kind of like a story mode where you play as a Mii, because Miis will never die.
Yeah.
And, you know, like Birdo's kind of like your house mom coach, and you're just learning, you're rising up the ranks as like a rookie golfer. But the second neat addition to this is the multiplayer option, where you're all kind of golfing at the same time for each individual hole. So it's you at the starting tee line. I don't know any.
The tee box.
Yeah,
the tee box. Sure.
T zone, the hard to reach T zone.
The T zone, and it's you and 3 other golfers, AI or actual players, and you all just tee off at the same time, and you kind of have to race over to where your ball lands.
Speed golf,
yes.
Yeah.
And each individual character, they have, you know, their stats of like they're a power hitter, they're faster. They have different stats in terms of their power hits or their special ability hits, and everyone has a stamina meter, so you can kind of like juice it to get to the ball. You also have like a dash that'll take you to some amount of distance before that runs out, and from there you just got to get to your ball and then just try and get it into the hole in as little amount of time and strokes. There's not a lot of interacting with the other players other than doing your special character specific hits, and that'll range from like, hey, this character blows everyone else's balls out of the way that that they would come into contact with, or they mess up like the area by the hole and everything. Oh,
the green.
God, this is just the green.
Yeah.
Man, golf turns out
it turns out you're a bowler.
It's a naughty
18 messy holes. 4 hours.
And so there's the option to actually play on the different golf courses, but then there's also like an arena speed battle golf where you're not going hole by hole. It's like a whole map, and whoever's the first to get to a hole wins a point, and then from there's like another set of holes that pops up that you got to get into. Wow, this is just getting progressively worse the more I talk.
Mario holes. All right. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So can you clothesline people? Like, you know, like if you're doing the speed golf stuff, can I just like run up on Peach and just like kick her over or something? And
in my experience, I haven't been able to. You can draft behind someone while they're dashing, and kind of get a speed boost from there. And like the more arena style battle golf, there's a lot more items popping up, so you'll have a bomb and you can hit that, and then that would interfere with the other players. And then from there's also like a lot of different variables popping up on like a minute basis where, all right, now just there's coins everywhere, and then there's ice on the field, that's gonna mess you up.
So like what it's the way you speak about this game, it seems like they've maybe not done the best. It seems like they screwed, not that they screwed something up, but like something isn't connecting. Like you seem like you're looking for more out of this thing, right?
I think I just wanted something more arcadey, right? Just something quicker to pick up and play. And I think the speed golf and the battle golf stuff is like a neat idea, but for some reason there's like a weird disconnect once you're actually playing through it. Like, for instance, say you're doing better than your AI or your friends when you're doing the speed golf, they'll, before a hole and you're doing way too well, they'll put a timer before you as a handicap of like, okay, you have to wait like 15, 30 seconds before you can go because you're apparently doing too well. And like that you can turn off if you just want to like just keep going and stuff. But it's just, you're right. It feels like there's something kind of missing. And
I feel
I can tell you what
I feel
the
like
problem
the
is.
core golf. What if you're going to say the same thing? I think the core golfing just isn't. It's not clicking. It's like kind of not arcadey enough, like a Mario Strikers, and it's also not simmy enough. either. It's kind of, I don't think it really, like, the best golf games are the ones where like the actual act of hitting the ball and like strategizing and figuring out where it's going to go just feels good. Like everybody's golf does that. Golf Story is like a very lo-fi version of this, but it still managed to do it. And then also like some, you know, some of the Tiger games have that sense and they're a bit more simmy, but I feel like the golf in this game, I'm having more fun doing the battle thing more than anything else because it's the most removed from actually playing golf, because I don't find the golfing in this game to just, it doesn't snap for me the way other games have.
Yeah, I think the golfing is good enough for me. It's not as good as like PGA Tour, obviously, but the problem is I think Nintendo saw that Super Mario Party sold 15 million copies, and they're like, we have to make a Mario Golf game for that audience and not for the weird perverts who are still talking about that RPG from the Camelot game 20 years ago that we haven't put in another game since. Why won't they stop talking about that? They're not making this game for the audience that we're in right now. They're making it for people who buy Mario Party and keep buying it whenever they buy a Switch. They made this kind of like a party game. Like you're supposed to sit down with friends and family in front of a couch and play these battle modes and play the speed golf, you know, split screen right in front of you on the TV. I think that's how they envision most people are going to play this. And so that means they leave out stuff like a satisfying campaign. It really is like an extended tutorial. I've been more okay with it because I got this game after the reviews, and people said, "Oh, it's really talky." So I don't talk to anybody in the campaign. I just go right to the missions, and I think it's okay. It's serviceable, but it's definitely a disappointment if what you're looking for is something more substantial. But I think once you kind of, the golf did click with me a little bit just because I really like shaping my shots. But a part of that is going through the campaign and like doing the challenges for each different little thing that they put in there. And that's made it a little bit more satisfying. But you kind of like forcing you to go through that to like unlock that stuff for your Mii and like skipping the ball across the water, which is something you do in the campaign, which I don't know if there's ever an instance where you would do that in like the versus modes. That stuff is cool. But it also just feels like maybe they haven't made this a very congruent experience where like everything like coalesces into a way where it feels like it's all culminating and you're putting all these skills together. It just feels like a game you're supposed to sit down and play with friends. And if you're not doing that either in person or online, this is probably not the Mario Golf game for you.
Yeah, and speed golf is such a weird thing. Like, you know, this isn't the first game. I mean, you know, like there's like 100-foot robot golf kind of did that like active, like, hey, we're fighting to the hole, or was golf question mark. Remember good old golf question mark where you're playing as like a teacup and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
Like,
do you remember
like
golf
like,
for work groups?
Yeah, golf for work groups, like kind of similar there too, where they're kind of just like, hey, what if we put everybody on the course? It seems like there's a situation where it's like if you're gonna have that, like it needs to be more than just a race. You kind of need more active like ways to mess with other players.
You can clothesline people when you do. If you're speeding ahead, you can run into people, and then they fall to the side, and they get their iframes for a little bit while they lose some energy. So there's some interaction there. It is like I get why Jan hasn't been able to do it, because if like it's a golf course, it's huge. People are going in all kinds of different directions, and sometimes the holes are literally in different directions. So you can like go this way, and someone go in the complete opposite direction, and you're not even running next to each other anymore. Then it's like, did they really think through the actions there? And then I guess you can use your special shot. Like Wario has a lightning bolt shot, and basically if you shoot it up, and it's going to go the exact length that you set it in, it's going to go right down, and any balls in the area of effect are going to get electrocuted. And I don't know, because I was never hit by Wario's attack, so I don't know exactly what this does, but I think any ball that's been like electrocuted like adds a stroke to their shot or whatever, and like behaves weirdly. But then that's like you have to aim it, and you have to make sure you time it right. They have to be in that area of effect. If you don't do that, it's not going to work. This did lead to one instance for me though, where I was playing online with some friends, but we weren't on voice. But we got to a par 3, so everyone's got to hit it to the same spot. And I had my shot, and my friend didn't, and he was ahead of me, and he just kept waiting because he knew as soon as he hit the ball, I was going to do it. So we were just standing off forever, and it was like a full 2 minutes before one of us started going. But yeah, that's interesting, but
cool.
It's not happening frequently enough where you feel like this is a game where you are just always going to be messing with your friends. So
and I feel like a lot of that strategy stuff, at least because I'm so bad at playing with friends online that way, I feel like the AI doesn't really know what to do with a lot of this stuff. Like in the battle mode, it's so easy to win it if you just always go where they aren't, because they always end up going to the same sort of obvious holes. So you just like, okay, first hole, I'm going to go to this one over here, and then just like, once at least that's been the strategy that's worked up up till this point. So yeah, it does feel. I hear what you're saying. It does feel like the type of game where it's probably a very different experience if you're playing with friends, and that's probably the way it was meant to be played.
Yeah,
I mean,
that makes sense.
You know, holes aside, I feel like what we're not talking about, and again, like I don't want to just continue to bang the same Bacalar drum over and over again, but my friends, is not the perfect sport Nintendo has yet to make a Mario version of right under our collective noses?
Hacky sack.
I'm sorry, my friends, but where the fuck is Mario Hockey? Think about it, okay? Just like it doesn't take a lot to think about how great power-ups and all the Nintendo sport fuckery they do in these games would work so well with a really, you know, almost NHL hitsified version of a arcade hockey game. I
gonna make a
have to do
game
everything
before I
myself?
make a hockey game. Yeah,
You're right. Saki will see the light of day.
I think hockey probably. So I'm just guessing here, but when I think about Nintendo and the reason Nintendo makes Nintendo-like decisions, I think the contact in hockey is often perceived as too violent, or that type of thing. Because when I think about a great arcade hockey game, I'm thinking about all the way back to, you know, NHL 93 on the Genesis. I'm thinking about NHL Hits. I'm thinking about that Gretzky game that launched on the N64. And then the Hits franchise kind of after that Midway got into, like NHL Rock the Rink for the PS1. Hell of a game.
Oh my God.
Rock the Rink.
I don't know if I played that.
I played that. The GameSpot staff was forced to go on an editorial sabbatical out to some ski place. People were out skiing, and then I was reviewing NHL Rock the Rink, and I was like, I'm just gonna stay inside and not go break both my legs, and play Rock the Rink instead. And then I think Andrew Park brought his Neo Geo, and we played Mark of the Wolves as well. But anyway,
I mean, you talk about
I think like the Nintendo characters and like those types of power-ups, I think you would end up in such a situation where you'd have to do such indirect violence, like Mario Kart style violence. It's just like, I dropped a thing on the ice and you fell over, or I shot a rocket and there was a smoke cloud or whatever. But like, I don't want to do that. I want to be fucking I want to take the Mario archetypes. You've got the NES ice hockey archetypes. You've got regular ass Mario, you've got skinny ass Luigi, you've got thick ass Wario. Right there,
it's on goal,
and just have them slam into each other as hard as they can, for as long as they can.
Sounds real good, though. It sounds like a lot of fun. They should just do it. They should just get over it and do it.
And just, you know, they could be all dumb and add the characters that they want to add that everyone's like, who the fuck is Marth or whatever. Like, they could do that. They could add all these things that they want to do.
Marth, more
another
sword
character in Mario Hockey. Sorry.
Right?
Come on. In the hockey game.
Every direct is another Mario Hockey character. Yeah, but I think
it's called a Fire Emblem Hockey at that stage. Is it big in Japan? Like, because I feel like golf, baseball, even
they've
soccer,
got a team.
Like,
I'm pretty sure
they're a national team. It's not that big.
And Ireland has a national team. We've got like one rink.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean,
it's like that.
You know, yeah. Okay. I don't know what to tell you there, but that's,
sorry, Bacalar. Not going to happen.
They should do it. You know, I agree. They should definitely do it.
They've done hockey in things before. They love ice. Ice shows up everywhere.
Yeah,
you know,
every one of their games has a goddamn ice level. Like, make a goddamn ice game.
There's ice in this Mario Golf,
right?
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Yeah, I really like Knockout City. They should just do dodgeball. That'd be real fun.
Sure,
it's a violent problem again. That's like the most violent.
Well, you're throwing a shell at someone. I don't know. Yeah. Maybe, who knows?
Does not seem as forgiving as a dodgeball, but.
I mean, that dev had a relationship with Nintendo for the Mario Kart AR thing. Like, you know, there's probably some version of the world where that was exactly what that was. But
that's true.
Can you hit the pitcher in Mario baseball games, or like, can you don't get the benches to no?
Yeah, no bench clearing brawls in those games. Unfortunately,
rub some material on your hat, and you're just.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, you're like, get a little bit of this in here and go all Phil Necro on it. Tony Hawk came to the Switch. speaking of Switch video games, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 plus 2. Jeff Grubb, you played a little bit of that. I understand the load times are something of a nightmare.
Yeah, so the initial loads on levels are fine and acceptable. The issue is the same issue that Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5 had, which is that when you press the retry button, because that's something you do often in a Tony Hawk. At least that's how I play it. I restart a lot because I want to get the perfect line or whatever. And it's 5 to 8 seconds. And I think that people who aren't Tony Hawk fans hear that and they're like, what are you complaining about? It's just 8 seconds. That's nothing. In a Tony Hawk game, it is. I think I played the game originally on Nintendo 64 and then Dreamcast. I didn't play the PlayStation 1 version a lot, but my understanding is even the PlayStation versions had pretty much instant reload.
Yeah.
So
the
whole
reason that stuff worked is that you could just like do that and restart and get right back into it. Like the frustration of like, I can't believe I fucked that up. I got to restart right now. And then you're back in it before you have time to sit and go like, I'm going to go do something else. It's important to keep you going. Definitely.
Yeah. It's part of the flow. Now, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I wonder like what that tells someone who's smart enough to sniff out like the logistics of like making a game. Like I think we're all in agreement that is like pretty high up on the list of crucial ass shit when it comes to a Tony Hawk game. And like, is this just an indictment of like, I just can't fucking do it on this thing?
It's probably a thing of like the overall player base for that game. How many players are actually going to know that was a key thing in those original games? And like, and the trade-off of like, okay, are you going to reduce the visual fidelity of that game such that it maybe can sit in memory more and reload faster, or are you going to have pretty screenshots to show people so that they go buy it on Switch? Like it's probably that.
Right. And they made other sacrifices. You can't hold down the share button to get like 30-second video clips. That's turned off for this game. Like it seems like they are maximizing their resources to keep the levels loaded in and to get the levels loaded in and looking the way they do, which is okay. It looks fine. The good news is that it plays exactly like you want. It is 30 frames per second. This is a hunch that I have that they are doing the thing that Trials did when it went to Switch, and that is, sure, the game is updating visually at 30 hertz, but I think the controls are updating at 60 hertz. That's the way it feels. That's the only way I would be able to explain why it feels so smooth when I play it, because it responds exactly how I would want a Tony Hawk game to respond. And you know, if I have to choose between not having Tony Hawk on the go and having Tony Hawk with reloads that are unacceptable, I'll take it and I'll play it this way. And I have been playing it. I've been playing it a lot. It's like the game that I'm like, when I have a little bit of time, I'm playing that. Especially when I'm like, okay, that Mario Golf round was frustrating. I'm going to go play this Tony Hawk game, and I've already played it all the way through on PC and on one of the consoles, I think the Xbox. So it still is solid, and it's exactly what you want if you're a Tony Hawk fan, except for those reload times. And if that's like enough to be like, oh, that's too much, I'll just go back and keep playing on the system I already bought it for once instead of double dipping. Yeah, just do that. You don't have to double dip here. Definitely not. But if you never play Tony Hawk and switches your system, then you could probably check it out and be fine.
Yeah, I think. But if you want portable Tony Hawk, I mean, you could always play Tony Hawk 1 on the N-Gauge. You could always play the Tony Hawk 2 on the Tapwave Zodiac. That's a great version of the isometric. Yeah, they did it. It's the the isometric GBA Tony Hawk that is actually super kick ass. Yeah, so they did a high res version of that for the Tapwave Zodiac.
Whoa,
that actually, but the analog stick on that thing sucks so much that it's actually kind of a pain in the ass.
Yeah, but Vicarious Visions, what are they doing these days? They should get on another one of those.
Yeah, they should make another one of these Tony Hawks, right? I mean, this guy is going places. He's dropping 900s. He's dropping NFTs. You know, everyone loves Tony Hawk.
Is he dropping NFTs? Is that what he's doing?
Yeah.
Did he NFT his like 900 or some shit?
Yes, I think it was like the last time he was going to do a specific trick, and they made a goddamn NFT. Because no one got to Tony and said, "Don't do it, man!" before it was too late.
It was the Subway people got to him too soon. Yeah.
See what else is going on. Dark Alliance. We talked a little bit about Dark Alliance last week. Dungeons and Dragons Dark Alliance, the latest in the long line of beloved Dark Alliance games. I ended up playing some more of this now that it's out. I played some of it pre-release, and then the reviews hit, and my feeling was like, what I played was not great, but maybe not worthy of this level of ire. And then I spent a couple more hours with it and tried playing online, and it's terrible. it's really, I was surprised by those last 2 hours with it, in terms of getting into the next act of the campaign, and kind of seeing what the next environment looked like and how the enemies behaved and all the other stuff, and then getting online with it and realizing like, oh, like this game feels bad and muddy, and the controls don't feel right, and the timing is very sluggish and all this other stuff. And then you play online, and then the littlest bit of latency completely destroys that game. Like, it wants you to,
oh really?
It's got pretty wide timing windows for stuff like there's a parry, so if you time your blocks right, you'll parry attacks, and that's something you need to do to kind of regenerate stamina, or like your maximum stamina depletes as you do special moves, and to bring that meter back up to its fullest, you need to parry an attack. And so it's something that is part of the loop of combat in that game, but you throw a bunch of lag into it, and you're like, oh, this is like, enemies are like warping around the screen. I can't, this is damn near unplayable. And this, and obviously session by session, that's going to vary depending on who you're playing with, where they are, all that other stuff. But boy, oh boy, it's rough and not much fun at all. I did roll around with a Drizzt for a little while online, and it's not, I don't feel it is worthy of the Dark Alliance name. It really makes me sad as someone who liked those games.
Wow.
It's rough stuff.
Is the multiplayer the same as the solo campaign? It's just that you play one character, and
exactly.
Yeah, and in the solo you still play as one, and the rest of them are AI, or
no? There's no AI, so you just play alone.
Okay, you play solo.
Yeah,
right.
so they don't fill in the gaps for you, and it's kind of like you can only play. You can't have two of the same character. It seems like it's kind of like locked in terms of, you form your party of 4 named characters and all that sort of stuff. Like, I understand that obviously like these are very famous characters from a very specific era of D&D lore and all this other stuff. But like when I come to this type of game, I want to make a character. Like I don't care about, I don't even care about Drizzt, and he's super famous, let alone Wolfgar and these other fuckers that are in this thing. Like so that part is some people will enjoy that part of it more than I did, I guess. But like, it just, everything in terms of like, as you're unlocking additional moves and leveling up and spending your points and all this other stuff, like just a lot of different aspects of that game are busted. But for me, the worst part about it is that when you collect loot in level, you don't get to use it. You have to finish the level and go back to a chest. And then, so like you'll pick up items and they'll say like rare helmet, but it won't give you, it's not in your inventory. It's just like in a pool of loot you acquired during this level, and you don't get any of it unless you finish the mission.
So like Anthem?
So, yeah, exactly. And so if you quit mid-mission, you don't get any of that stuff, which I'm sure prevents some exploit. I don't, who knows why they did it, but it creates this situation where you have to go back and then do a buttload of inventory management, and then the inventory management in that game is not well crafted or modern in a lot of ways either. And so it just kind of top to bottom, they have not done a good job with it, or some people did fine jobs with it, but like the end product is severely disappointing. And it's on Game Pass, so if you want to go play it for nothing, you can.
Do you think games like this reflect on Game Pass in a way? Do you find yourself like your emotions changing towards Game Pass when they hype up a game like Dark Alliance and then it comes out and it stinks, or is it just like another bad game that you just move on from?
I think it's hard for me because we just get access to so much stuff, right? So, but I try to envision it in terms of like Game Pass is almost doing you a solid, because if you were a Dark Alliance fan, you might have gone out and bought that.
Yeah.
And if you can just play that for 4 hours and be like, man, dodged a bullet there, like Game Pass is still providing some kind of service there.
Right.
Like you have to, them going out and doing the business to do the deal to launch with that on day one. I'm sure they are hoping it's going to turn out good and all this other stuff. So I'm not saying they're going out there trying to do deals with bad games to save people money, but it in some sick way, it still works out. Been thinking a lot about that aspect of Game Pass lately in terms of just like the value of, so when you have access to all of those games, and I saw a couple people on Twitter off and on over time just say like, boy, it sure is easy to play the first 3 hours of every game on Game Pass and not stick to any of them. Do you think that Game Pass is doing something weird to the perceived value of video games. If you've, when you buy a game, you end up with that investment of like, well, I spent this money on this game and now I'm stuck with it. I should probably play it all the way through. I can't get a refund because we live in a nightmare. I
mean, my knee-jerk reaction is yes, it's absolutely doing something to the psychology of game ownership, 100%. Like, how could it not be?
Yeah,
I mean, we saw it's the slippery slope argument that people say, we're like, oh, this is going to encourage developers to only release bad games because they don't get punished as bad. And I think we'll have to wait to see if anything like that happens. And I do think that's like a slippery slope argument. But I think Backler's right. How could it not? Like, we saw the way things changed on mobile because people tried different business models, and a different business model is going to make people think differently about the way they acquire and think about their games. My hunch is that it's going to have a net positive effect over time, where people feel like they can try more and new and different stuff and not have to like so greatly protect the one genre that they know that they're into because they're spending $60 to $70 every time. But I'm sure there'll be some negative effects that we haven't predicted yet as well. But overall, I think it'll probably be positive.
Yeah, I think I tend to agree that it will be net positive, but it's a very different thing. I mean, when Microsoft's first party stuff started showing up on there, it definitely changed the conversation about like, how do you review these games when you're not really having to advocate like someone spending $60 on it or not, and you end up in that same situation. Like, this is why we didn't review mobile games for the long, like in pre-iPhone days, right, or even in the iPhone days. Like, when a game is free, you could spend a lot of time reading about it, or you could just go check it out for 10 minutes and see what's up.
Yes.
And it kind of changes the need to write the traditional review for those sorts of games. And now it's that sort of stuff is happening with these Game Pass games. And Crackdown 3 for me was like the first big one of those where it was like I was playing it and I was like, I'm having a bad time. Like, this is not the Crackdown sequel I want in any way, shape, or form. Multiplayer is also very disappointing when you compare it to what they promised about their cloud support, blah, blah, blah. But then at the end of it, you're like, well, what's my recommendation? I don't know. Sign up for Game Pass. You should probably have it anyway. And then play 4 hours of it. If you like it, play some more. But like, it's fine that it's bad. It's fine that it's not great, because you don't have to go pay another $60 for it. And Game Pass does have so many solid to great games on it, kind of rotating through, or games that have become fixtures because they're first party. You're just like, whatever, you should get it. Like, long term, it's like long term. Do you have a lot of people who played like me, that played like the first 90 minutes of River City Girls and said, this is really cool, and then never touched it again?
It feels so platform specific, though, in this instance. It's not like a, music industry thing or something where we suddenly devalue the art form because it's become, these massive streaming libraries. Like, this is very much a Microsoft thing. And PlayStation in a way, this has allowed PlayStation to lean even further into these sort of, we are creating these curated experiences that are only available on this console. And, they're these big blockbuster tentpole games that are going to come out every 6 months. You can only play them here. And then, which is probably a good thing in some way, business-wise, for both of them, because it allows them to occupy a unique space within the industry in a way that hardware-wise they just simply don't anymore. So, to me, it feels like a very Microsoft strategy, and it's in its own little sort of walled garden there. But it's already changing the way we're talking about games.
Definitely, and it becomes like I think Game Pass, like long term, it becomes an issue of curation. Like, what deals do they do, and why do they do them? Like, I as someone who just told you that I think Dark Alliance is a terrible game, I think it's great that it's on Game Pass, because
I think that the curation should lean towards more bad games as opposed to like trying to like have a really high bar. Just put a lot of stuff on there and think about it, but that curation shouldn't be overburdening, like to the point where they're like, I don't even hear about a game because it's not on Game Pass anymore, and then they don't put a game in there because they think it's bad. I think it's okay. Let me decide it's bad. I'm not going to hold it against you, I don't think.
Yeah, and yeah, exactly. I think if they hit a bad run where like all the games they're promoting as like their big day one releases are all rotten, eventually that probably has some kind of knock-on effect, but I don't think they've gotten there yet. And I think the quality of the first party stuff has been high enough that I think that and they still have enough like goodwill on their biggest franchises there that I think that carries it kind of no matter what. Like, even if you played Outriders and it broke and deleted all your inventory, you're still like, well, I'll get Halo, I'll get Forza, it's fine.
Yeah.
Like I'm
like,
staying signed up to this, but
you played Outriders for like 4 hours or 6 hours. Like there was a value there, and it's sort of in a way kind of throwbacky to getting the demo disc and investing 4 hours playing all those games.
Renting a game or something. You're just like taking it home for the weekend, and like maybe you don't finish it, but. Games
you were never going to buy in the first place, or or games you were never going to try. Like I've played more games in other genres that I don't usually play on Game Pass. Like there's a bunch of half the games I talked about in the first couple of months when I was on this podcast were games that I was like, oh yeah, sure, I'll give that a whirl. So maybe what's happening as well is that we're changing the way we think about the value proposition ourselves, where maybe we don't need to play a game for 15 or 40 or 100 hours. Maybe it's okay to play a game 20% of the way through for 4 hours, and that was enough.
And I think someone chat made up a good point about like subsidizing bad games. I think of It Takes Two, and what was the game before that? A Way Out. Way Out, people kind of were like lukewarm on it, and EA gave Joseph Fares another chance to do that exact same thing with a slightly different style. And It Takes Two has been, everyone raves about it. I haven't played it, but people seem to love it. And it's like, they gave him a chance, let him like learn this way of making a game. And sure, it didn't like strike everybody's fancy, but the second game seems to have done exactly that, and it sold really well. And it's like almost like let these developers take a strike. Let them take a strike, and then if they come up to the bat next time, like let's see what they could do after they've learned some lessons. And maybe there's like a lot of value in that, and that's like something that was not happening without Game Pass. Like not really.
Yeah, I mean the math has been
gives
done.
people
like,
more room to experiment.
Yeah, they did the math on this for sure. Like, because that's what I keep coming back to is like, there is this amazing thing about Game Pass of like it appearing from a customer point of view such an impossible deal to sort of pass up, but at the same time is likely highly lucrative on the other side of the fence too. Like there are these two sort of not conflicting, but sort of historically what you would perceive to be conflicting ideologies of like, this can't be great and cheap. Like they can't, I feel like that is kind of the real, special sauce in the whole sort of model. Yeah. When you talked about like Sony doing it the first time, like PlayStation Now on a smaller scale was this, not now, PlayStation Plus on a smaller scale was this. They had that momentum for a very long time. Like, it was a thing that had been established. It just kind of, I don't know, the gas kind of ran out of the tank a little bit, I guess, with the sort of, roadmap and the strategy.
It was so month by month as well. Game Pass feels more like an archive.
Fluid, definitely.
Well, in conclusion, put Balan Wonderworld on Game Pass.
Yes.
Yeah. Let's take a quick break. We'll come back. We got some more games to get through, and then we'll get into some news. How about that?
Cool.
Mental health, am I right? You know what I mean? Your brain stuff, how's it going up there? Is it going good or are you struggling? It's okay. Look, it's okay if you're struggling. There are a lot of people out there struggling. You aren't feeling like your normal self. You might check out therapy. Therapy can help. It doesn't have to be sitting around talking about your feelings. Therapy can be whatever you want it to be, whatever you need it to be. You can privately talk to someone if you feel like you're not dealing well with stress or if you're having relationship issues, whatever you need. It's time to stop being ashamed of normal human struggles and start feeling better because you deserve to be happy. And there's BetterHelp to help you better with this. It's a customized online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat sessions with your therapist, so you don't have to see anyone on camera if you don't want to. It can be more affordable than in-person therapy, and you can start communicating with your therapist in under 48 hours. Join the millions of people who are seeing what therapy is really about and see if it's for you, because you are your greatest asset. This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp, and Giant Bombcast listeners can get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/bombcast. That's betterhelp.com/bombcast. It's time to get grubbing. And it's time to get hubbing. It's time to get grub hubbing. Grubhub serves restaurants. That's right. They love restaurants. From the food to the passion, the determination of the people behind them, Grubhub is here to help. Because a restaurant's relationship with the customer, it matters. Their reputation matters. And they don't want that reputation to suffer because of, you know, Grubhub. Good food deserves a good service delivered fast, fresh, and exactly how restaurants intended it to be. Because restaurants work hard to serve their customers, and Grubhub works hard to serve them. Whatever you're doing, you know, hey, look, you're busy. You got a lot of TV to watch. You're just not in a position to leave the house and pick up food. Grubhub is there. You got to come up for air. By air, I mean food. Grubhub's got you covered. They will get food from local restaurants, national chains, all these other places, and they will bring it to you. Because Grubhub serves restaurants. Grubhub works hard to serve those restaurants so that they can work hard to serve you. Today, Grubhub is doing something a little extra. Serve some Panera. You can get a free delivery perk on your first order from Panera of $15 or more. Order through the Grubhub app or online. Grubhub, we serve restaurants. All right, let's talk about a few more games here. Lego Builder's Journey. Hit Apple Arcade a while ago, but this and it's on Switch now as well. But it seems like the two aspects of it are, boy, it's very emotional, but also, damn, it looks good. They went and RTX'd up a Lego game or something, and some good looking bricks. Yeah. But the game itself, I am not loving. It's basically like a puzzle-ish game where you're kind of moving some Legos around an environment. Basically, you want to bring the characters together. So you're kind of like taking one character and moving them over to the other one. And to do that, you have specific bricks that they will jump to. And so it's like this domino effect of like you're picking up the brick behind them and moving it in front of them to make them move. And that's a little clunky and a little bit slower than I wish it was. But damn, it's a beautiful video game. Danny, if you play all the way through it, did you?
Not yet. It's only been 90 minutes, and I think
it's not very long.
No, I've played about 50, but I keep having to stop because it keeps getting me, like, it keeps like affecting me too much. Like, it's not going to be the same for everyone, I'm sure, but like a lot of us here are dads, and like I play Duplo with my daughter like pretty much on a daily basis. And like last week we had a vacation together, which was really nice, and then I had to come back to work, and like there's parts of this game where like it's all about the relationship between a parent and a child, and then the parent has to go to work. And it's all done in these little like, you know, motifs, but it totally was getting like I was in tears after 7 minutes of this thing. The open that they do is sort of has like an up style, oh, I wasn't expecting this sort of moment that really like got to me. But yeah, I'm with you. I think I'm mostly playing because the reason I got it was because in the same way that those Lego movies looked unbelievable, this looks just so fantastic. And now the thing that's keeping me playing is I want to do the story, but I'm doing it in drips and drabs because literally it keeps like I keep going, oh, I need a break, man. This is a bit much.
I feel like I know how it's going to end, and like I just don't. Like there was a part of me that was just like, I don't think I want to deal with that right now.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I'm with you.
The dad's head just pops off or something. You know, it's
exactly. Yeah, it's not going to be some happy ending. It's never. You know, it's It's telling a life.
It's the cycle of it, just like doesn't need the parent anymore or something like that.
It was perfectly encapsulated. We started over the weekend, and my son, he was getting a little frustrated. He doesn't use a mouse a lot, so he was sort of like, "The fuck is this?" But he's looking at me in like one of those first levels where like the kid gets up to like the hiking backpack of the parent, and then like the kid gets its own backpack, and he just like turned and looked at me and he was like, "That's me." And I'm like, "Cool, yeah." And they're probably gonna kill me in this game or do something terrible. Like we're gonna be separated, you and me, in this game, and it's gonna feel bad. And but it is amazingly gorgeous. I am equally frustrated with a few of the things in the way the game controls, and I just think some of that stuff leaves a little to be desired. But the fidelity and the whole environment wins me over more than any of those frustrations. So, shit, man.
I've been I've been playing it too. I think that the storytelling is very well done. It's not even they're not minifigs. They just create them with Lego parts to create these characters, and I think it makes it more abstract, and it enables you to like you put yourself into what you're seeing, and then when you take like the story back out, it's like more affecting because of that. It's it's really well done. I think that the gameplay gets a little bit more varied. Like you're doing slightly different things a little bit further in than I was expecting. And also I also have the Switch version as well as the PC version, and the Switch version still looks pretty good. It's obviously not global illumination with the DLSS to make sure the frame rate's still going, but it still looks good enough. So if you want to try this out, and I think you can use the touchscreen on the Switch as well, which makes the controlling a little bit easier, especially for kids. But I've been pretty impressed with it, but I agree with the story where I'm like, oh no, the dad's going to work and he's doing the same thing over and over, and all right, this is getting me.
It's kind of I like my daughter loves to like skateboard and scooter, and then there's a moment in the game where it sort of changes the gameplay a bit, and it's the kid on like a skateboard, and I'm like, come on,
by themselves, right? Because the dad's with them at the beginning. It's a parent. I'm calling it a dad. We don't necessarily know it's a dad, but like the parent is there, and it's at the beginning, and they're learning this world together. Then the dad has to go to work, and then the kid is like learning the world on their own and like figuring things out by themselves. And it's like, oh, okay, that's going to happen someday, isn't it? Like my kids are 4 and 2, so I'm right there with you.
How dare they?
I know
it is. How dare they? You know that.
Just let me build the Ghostbusters car or something, right?
It's I bet you could play this game like and none of this. It's the same way I feel like when we talked about It's Take Two a couple of months ago, where like for us it was like this is stepping in areas that I'm like make me feel like vulnerable in a way that is difficult. But also you could totally play this game and none of that stuff will may not affect you, but mileage may vary.
Beautiful looking. I think the animation on some of the levels too, with just the Legos moving stuff, is just really cool. Phantom Abyss. Your run based whip jumping first person relic stealing spike getting Indiana Jones-ish sort of deal. This game is really cool, and I'm not sure if I'm ever going to play it again. I really like what they're going for, and at the same time, I don't know that I have the. I wish the jumping and the whip stuff, and maybe as you're kind of getting additional whips and stuff, maybe that solves it. But like when Bacalar, when you played it on Friday, I totally understand now why you kept falling in stuff, because I want the whip to be more of like a fast action. I'm going to whip here and then turn around and whip here and just like carry myself up. And it's not that game. It's like you whip once on a jump, and that's
you're not Spider-Man.
Yeah, exactly. You're not Spider-Man, and I want to be Spider-Man.
So like that DLC is coming. I mean, you'll
they'll probably put that whip in there, like a dual whip eventually or something like that. But I like it. Like you'll notice that you're not actually stealing relics; you're reclaiming them for the god who they were stolen from. I think so. They got around that little bit of trouble pretty smartly, I think. But it's my kind of game. It's absolutely my kind of jam. I got really into speed running with Astro, and this is like kind of scratching that same itch where it's not speed running, but it's run based, and I'm encouraged to go fast because there's a big monster chasing you, and just kind of figuring out these platforming puzzles is really satisfying, and then also seeing all the people around you who have failed previously. Like that's the big hook here is like you're going to be the first person to actually finish this whole thing, and you're playing against the ghost of all the other people who have tried and failed so far. And then once you beat it, once someone beats it, it gets cut off and gets taken out of rotation. And that doesn't mean like every run feels super different. It is just that procedurally generated stuff being pieced together. But it's really working for me. It's got its hooks into me. I've been playing it kind of nonstop, and I haven't like beaten the second biome, I guess is what you would call it, but I've gotten pretty deep into that, but they introduced some new traps. I'm struggling with those. I'm going to keep going until I think I get through like to the end. I think there's probably like 4 major areas, and I'm going to keep at it until I do that. So yeah, I'm really digging it.
So does that mean that does that mean one run covers all 4 areas, or is it that
there's two different kinds of runs you could do. You could do a run which stops at the first area where you reclaim the relic from that first area, and then it sends you back to the beginning, and that's a successful run. But I think eventually you're going to run out of relics in that first area, and then you got to start doing the same thing on the second area, and then but I want to like just keep going and keep going. But you can like once you make the decision to go to the second area, you just go up the stairs instead of down the stairs, and if you have the right key, you can open the door and go. But I think a full like real run to me feels like doing all 4 areas, basically like Spelunky.
So that's what I kind of discovered more after we did it on UPF, where I had gotten like 3 or 4 first level kind of relics, and then I was like, and then you make it a few times around, and the game sort of says like, hey, it's pretty cool, you've been doing what you've been doing, but maybe you like go down the stairs and challenge yourself a little bit. And that's when I was like, oh shit, there's a whole other like backside of this game where you're in this like, the first area is kind of green, this area is kind of blue, and that shit's impossible. I mean, it's not impossible, but that shit is much more challenging, because after you collect a good amount of relics in the green areas, you're sort of like, oh, I could get like 40 or 50 of these things and feel okay. But then that sort of thing pops up, and you can see the branch in the loading screen of how like, oh, you sidestep that easier relic to get around. That I find that stuff really, really kind of fun. And I do like the shrine system that they have going on with the perks and strategizing on like what the right, thing to pick up is, and which ones work better for the way you kind of play the game.
I got a whip that gives me 2 extra heart containers, and then it made things cost 30% more, but then somehow and I don't actually remember, I must have been getting a relic, but I upgraded that whip, and now it no longer has the debuff. It just gives you the 2 extra heart containers, and so I've been using that kind of nonstop.
But yes, so exactly. Is that a situation where every time you unlock a whip, is it just kind of there for you to select pre-run? Or do you just have one? It's there,
but if you die with it, there is a situation where you might have to spend some resources to get it, to like rebuy it, to like unlock it again. But I've always had enough resources to do that. I haven't been in a situation where I haven't had enough where I've been faced with that decision yet, or I had to like choose something else that I didn't want. But I imagine as I get better and better whips, I probably likely will. And it seems like these are resources you get based on the biomes that you get to. So like I got a lot of the green treasures, uncommon treasures, and I think I've only gotten a few from the blue area. So if I need something that needs blue, and I think I actually have that whip, I just haven't been needing it. It's not the one I want to use right now. If I were to lose that one during the run, I would have to go back to that second area and get that stuff to unlock it again. So
and isn't there something where if you die with the whip, I think there's some language there that says like you won't get this back until someone completes the
resources run. I think the resources that you earned when someone completes the run, they unlock it and it gets sent to you. And so that's happened to me once where they're like, hey, someone beat that temple and now here's your stuff. It makes it feel like a multiplayer game. It really does. Cool. When it's when it's definitely not, it's all asynchronous.
I love it. I'm really into it.
Yeah, that's really cool. All right, Cruelty Squad. I feel like I've heard the name of this game going around for a bit, and for whatever reason, I just never looked to see what it is. And then pre-show, I looked at it. Jeff Grubb, this seems like it's probably pretty awesome.
It's pretty awesome. So the Cruelty Squad, before people go Google it, it has overwhelmingly positive ratings on Steam. And I don't necessarily think it's a joke, but the game's definitely like in on the joke. So it is like it looks like GoldenEye, but if all the textures were replaced by like just random JPEGs from your funny folder or whatever.
Right.
And it feels like GoldenEye, like you're going through the levels and you're just taking on these enemies. But there's also like this weird storyline where on like the third mission, I got sent after the CEO of a company, and I'm like, wait. The company name, I think I saw that company name in the stock trading mini game that I always have access to. So I'm like, before I go to kill that CEO, should I go buy that stock? Because the head up, the people who control the world are like, hey, the CEO of I think like Aerospace Orbital Industries, he is not okay with getting a lot of lives lost on our mission to Mars. And actually, the whole point of our mission to Mars is to have a mass human sacrifice event to satiate the heads up of this world. And I'm like, okay, so the heads up of this world want us to replace the CEO. I'm going to buy the stock for this company because I bet the price is going to go up. So I went in the level and I killed the CEO, and I came back out, and they went up like 10%. So I like made some money on my thing is on the side. And there's like a huge like stock trading thing, and it looks just like a Bloomberg terminal. And there's one of the tabs is just like fish, but I don't recognize any of like the names of the actual like commodity like as a fish. Like the first one is FLSH. So we just started on stream. I just started calling it flesh, and I invested a lot in flesh. And I actually took a pretty bad beating on my flesh investment and lost a lot of money. But I don't know. I mean, it's from a developer called Consumer Soft Products. They know what they're doing. I think you have to see it to really understand here. But I was having a very good time with it. My chat, like it's cacophonous. So like there's a lot to look at. There's a lot to listen to. They always have weird sounds happening in the background. There's people running all around you around the stage, kind of like on a loop, and their footsteps, whether they're like 50 feet away from you, you hear them like they're right next to you. So it can be a lot. And the people on stream were like, this stinks. This is bad. And I'm like, actually, I think it might be good, guys. I'm having a pretty good time. But yeah, you have to kind of see it for yourself. And I think it's like $20, but I don't know. I'm thinking it's worth it. It's definitely interesting.
Yeah. Nice.
Invest in flesh.
Yes. Yeah. I put all my money into
all my flesh stocks.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move on to some news. How about it?
A lot of games. Yeah. Let's do it.
It's a lot of games. A lot of games.
News.
Also
a lot of news.
A lot of news. This just happened. Looks like Remedy has signed a new deal with 505 Games, which it's in the press release here, and I have to say it every time I see it. 505 Games, an international video game publisher and subsidiary of Digital Bros Group.
Okay. Like Hammer Bros.
My Digital Bros. Fuck all these Analog Bros. Actually, Analog Brothers. There's a couple good albums. Those like Ice-T and Cool Keith and them. There's nothing wrong with Analog Brothers. They have come to a new deal with the Control franchise, and Remedy will be working on a spin-off that is a 4-player co-op take on Control. That is not. Sorry, did I make up that 4-player co-op PvE game codenamed Condor.
Finally, a 4-player PvE
Dead
game.
Is this a Left 4 Dead?
Is that a Left 4 Dead? I mean, PvE 4-player co-op in the Control universe. That sounds like 4 players making their way through the oldest house or some kind of shifting space, shooting a bunch of Control people with cool control powers. That might be cool.
It also sounds like half the games that answered E3, unfortunately. This is just like...
Yeah. Yes. And we have a quote here from Rami and Rafi Galante, the co-CEOs of Digital Bros Group. I assume that they are the Digital Bros, as they share a last name. But we're excited to continue and further expand our collaboration with Remedy with over 2 million copies sold and revenue exceeding 70 million euros. Control is an extremely successful game. I just wanted to say the Digital Bros part again. The quote's not actually that relevant. The rest of it here, though, in addition, 505 Games and Remedy have outlined high-level collaboration terms to further expand the Control franchise with a bigger budget Control game to be agreed in more detail in the future. So not just the 4-player codename Condor thing. This is kind of setting the stage for more Control in the future, which they should make more Control. That's my expert opinion. They should continue to make more games in the Control universe because it's so damn good.
Huh.
There are the 3 Galante brothers apparently are on the Digital Bros key people. Chairman and the CEO and the director are all Galantes.
All right.
There you go. It's got to be one of the biggest publishers coming out of Italy, right?
The Digitalist of Bros. I feel like Digital Bros, wasn't that name used as a budget line in the UK or in PAL territories somewhere?
Sounds like it, but I couldn't.
And then they just rebranded as 505 in the US and then tried to get out of that kind of budget mentality, or tried to dodge the budget reputation that they had over there. And
Italian publishers have the best names. I think there's one called The Video Game Party, which is just really solid.
Amazing.
That's really good.
Apparently this crowd, it's been there since like 89. They did a lot of publishing in Italy. So like Italian versions of Pro Evolution and Tomb Raider and Resident Evil. So they've been around for a while, but I guess the acquisitions and investments looks like it's sort of kicked off in the past couple of years.
Yeah, they've been trying to make a run at it for the last handful of years. Control feels like the big breakout potential for 505. I mean, they've been hit and miss there for a while. Let's see here. Kazuya is coming to Smash Brothers today, I believe. He is out, and the next character will be the last. Sakurai has announced that the next character will finish the current season of characters, and apparently it will be the final character for Smash Brothers Ultimate. So we've only got one more shot at really angering a lot of people here, and I want to know, like, who is gonna. My money is on Mr. Do, or Dan from Street Fighter. I think that would really probably piss off a lot of people. Anyone?
I think it's gonna be a Rabid. It's gonna be a Rabid from Mario plus Rabbids. There we go.
That would actually be. But they should just do Rabid versions of all the characters in the game. Like they have to do different Kirby's.
Well, that would be good. Yeah.
Okay, that'd be good. So they'll never do that. Someone in chat says bonk. Could we get a Karnov in here? What could we get, like like the car from Breakthrough? Like something cool. I would this. Yeah, people saying this is Waluigi's last chance. I wonder if they're gonna, like, if they're saving that for last, and they're just like, this is what the fans want, or if it's just gonna be like, Marth has a cousin from a different timeline. And, we thought that'd be cool.
They should put in Dovahkiin. That would really stir
He's
the
a
ire.
Mii fighter.
He got
added as Mii fighter in the last one. Yep, and everyone's like, "Hey, Todd Howard did it. He even got Skyrim ported to Smash."
Oh my god! Who else then? Tony Hawk. There you go.
Oh hell yeah!
Tony Hawk's son.
Yeah, Tony Hawk
would be too good though.
Yeah, could we get like Triple H in there just to get a Triple H like amiibo?
They already have the crotch chop animation from Mario Super Strikers, so yeah, they're good.
True.
Yeah, why not? It's weird to think of a time when they are no longer working on this game, and I feel like every time Sakurai is out there, like I feel bad. It's hard not to envision like that he's just chained to that desk doing those live streams with all the stories about him, passing out, going to the gym while they were working on it, and just all the stuff that he has done working on this game in particular, but the last couple probably. I wonder if this is his last ride for this franchise, and if someone else takes it on. I don't know.
All the other like old Nintendo stuff has had like the next generation come up and take it over, right? Like Mario and Zelda. Like even like it's like Zelda's on like its third generation of leadership. Like Eiji Aonuma's like moved up and is like kind of overseeing Fukushima, I think, or something like that. And then but that hasn't happened with Smash, and it feels like if this would have been the time to be training that next generation. So hopefully there's someone ready to step up into those shoes.
Yeah, you really get the impression with Nintendo properties specifically that a lot of their decisions, and I think Japanese companies in general, maybe, but Nintendo maybe more than the others, that like these games need a champion internally to get the next sequel over the line, to promote that internally and make the case for it and get it greenlit and all that stuff. And if there is no next generation for Smash, as much as it's been a big moneymaker, Nintendo has walked away from plenty of big franchises over the years, and I could see them doing that. Well, I don't think that will happen. I do think that they will. If Sakurai ends up kind of getting off the roller coaster now, I think they probably have someone else who would be totally psyched to make another Smash game in 4 or 5 years. But yeah, it's interesting. End of an era, potentially in a few different ways, but we'll see. I could also see a world where Sakurai gets roped back in and is just like, no, I'm here to do. Yeah, no, I'm making another one. Let's go.
I can't wait for the Kingdom Hearts community to be very upset that it's not going to be Sora.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm looking forward to it.
It's pretty sadistic, Jan.
As
I
a
think
member
that's
of that
half
community.
the fun.
I mean,
Half the
that's what they
fun of
deserve.
Smash DLC is that sadistic side of just like, all right, I just want to see who's going to be pissed this time.
But Lady
Maybe
D
I feel
in,
differently if
everyone
I
will
play
be
the game
happy.
more, but
Just
It's true.
put that big tall lady in there. I love it.
Yeah.
Lap it up.
okay, yeah.
Put the Scorpion King in it.
Put Scorpion in it.
No, yeah.
All right. Finally, someone's actually going to get hurt.
Put Lego Scorpion in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. This happened earlier today. Housemarque has been acquired by Sony Interactive Entertainment. The quote from the let me get the quote from the.
I feel like they're a dev that I always assumed sort of just was anyway, but I guess now the ink is dried officially.
Yeah. I mean, their last handful of games have been really associated with published by Sony in some cases and all that other stuff. Like, I mean, it's Ilari? Is that an I or an L? Anyway, pronouncing this wrong no matter what, but I believe it's Yari or Ilari Kutanen, who's one of the co-founders of Housemarque, gave a brief statement to the PlayStation blog. Saying, this gives our studio a clear future and a stable opportunity to continue delivering on gameplay-centric approaches while still experimenting with new methods of narrative delivery and pushing the boundaries of this modern art form. Housemarque feels like they were a studio trying to grow beyond the games that they had been known for, the Resoguns of the world and like that type of stuff. They went through that phase that they're putting out press releases saying like, that phase is over. We're working on this bigger thing now. And we got this
Working on Battle Royale.
thing. Yeah, we're making a Battle Royale. We're doing this. Like it really felt like they were trying to stretch into something bigger, maybe that didn't even have Sony involved. And then that stuff kind of fell apart or morphed into, or something happened, and Returnal eventually was the
I think it lined up with what Sony was doing. I think that's what happened was Sony was like, hey, yeah, cool. If you have anything bigger, come call us. Come talk to us then. And they were like, hey, we need to make something bigger to survive, period. Maybe if we make one of our games, but we bring the camera down right behind the back like all the Sony games, maybe Sony would be interested. And Sony's like, yes, we are. Please, let's make that game together.
Please make this game. We'll send you the API for these triggers. Have you seen how cool these triggers are? Like
exactly. Yeah. I think it just lined up nicely for them.
Yeah, they probably just they probably sent Sony a demo of just like, feel this controller rumbling when the rain hits the suit, and they're like, oh yeah, here, how much money do you need? We're selling it for $70, by the way. And they're like, yeah, this seems like one of those kind of inevitable things. But I think the quote I picked, a stable opportunity, I think is one of the key phrases there. That this is something that provides stability to a crew that like I said, they were trying to find their way in an increasingly weird market, and this seems like it's probably a good outcome.
And there's no way that Returnal 2 isn't like a really, really big deal. I think that's going to be a pretty big game when it comes out, or whatever they do next. They're going to learn from what they did, and I think they're going to capitalize on it. And Sony wants to kind of be there for it. I think it's going to work out for everybody.
I hope that this leads to them being on kind of a slightly different cadence too. I think you think of Housemarque as like they're the studio that's there at launch. They're the studio that's there with like the downloadable thing. At launch, and then maybe another one later in the life cycle. But like this, I feel like Returnal really breaks them out of that loop, and I'd love to see them take another. I'd love to see them take another crack at Returnal. Yeah, like a sequel to that would be solid, because I think there's some stuff there that I wish was a little smoother. And I think if they took another stab at it, I think they could really make something like really, really amazing. Oh, whatever. Some people think Returnal is really amazing. I think
I think it's very good and could be amazing. Yeah.
They also strike me as a team that probably could benefit from like 20% more personnel. Like those games are now stretching a little bit. Like Returnal felt like a game that kind of was like stretching to be a big budget game, and perhaps that investment will help them get there. Because like, what were the games they put out? It was like Matterfall was one, and some other stuff as well. Like a lot of these games,
Next Machina,
Right, exactly. Yeah, these you forget about them because, like you said, they were games that sort of like, I remember they kind of looked like they could be big budget, but then you played them and they are sort of like stripped out. They're clearly from smaller teams, so yeah, maybe that'll help them kind of reach that next step. Or I mean, Returnal was that first step, maybe, but maybe this helps them along that path.
Yeah, definitely. I think that could. Yeah, It's hopefully.
What was the
and
deal
then there's
with,
one
like,
more little.
Are you going to talk about the tweet?
Yeah, there's one little part of this. Another additional wrinkle is that the Japanese PlayStation account tweeted out something with a very similar graphic, but instead of the Housemarque logo, it was the Blue Point Games logo, and then that
and it had a picture of Demon
deleted.
Souls on it.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that they had some version of that graphic ready to go. That's.
I would not be surprised given the shake-up that happened at Japan Studio as well, and that's another team that is basically tied into the Sony DNA at this stage. They've been Uncharted Collection, and like that's they're another one that you go, oh, they're not owned by Sony,
right?
So
right. There's a lot of reasons for these things to happen right now too. Sony has a lot of money in its game division. It has a lot of money in the bank. That money's going to be worth less next year because of inflation. They also are worried about the tax landscape changing as it was like more liberal leadership gets into place in key countries. So they might have to pay more in taxes. Spend this money now so that it's you're actually going to get something back for it. And also these studios are looking around and saying, hey, we might never ever be worth this much again. Game studios are in high demand. Sure. Microsoft's acquiring a lot of companies, Tencent's acquiring a lot of companies, or at least putting a lot of money into places. And we are also selling a lot of games. I bet Returnal's numbers look really good on a PowerPoint saying, hey, we went from this to this. Look at that number. Look at that chart. Look how much that revenue went up. We're worth more now than we might ever be. So let's sell now. So I think everything's just kind of lining up on that side of things too.
Yeah, I mean, it really feels like there's some kind of feeding frenzy happening around just like mergers and acquisitions and all this sort of stuff these days. Tencent, obviously, I think is fueling a big chunk of that. And there's more to come. Whether that's Sony, whether this Blue Point thing happens or not, like I don't know that that's necessarily. I mean, that stuff could just be a language barrier issue. It could be that like a simple mistake, or it could be. Put it this way, if it's not a simple mistake, then they probably would have just announced it by now, right? Because you don't get that graphic ready deliberately unless you've got the acquisition happening. Like, so whoever is making that graphic, if they're in the know that they need to make that graphic, then it already happened, or it's a simple mistake.
Or it's about to.
Or they could have really fucked up.
There's no about to, because you don't tell the person making graphics for social, hey, we're about to acquire a company.
No, I know.
Because then it leaks and there's a bunch of other,
or maybe
problems
they,
there.
Sure, maybe they maybe it is a done deal and they're just sort of, spacing it out. Who knows? Like it could be anything.
So it's a good thing it was that and it wasn't Blue Box.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's next week. But it's Microsoft. They're picking them up, and that's a Metal Gear game.
Yeah.
It's weird though, for sure.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird timing. But it would not shock me if that is not actually happening. And it's ended up being some weird mistake or some game of telephone gone awry or something like that. But
some social producers, dark fantasy,
exactly.
Getting out there into the
my last day. Here we go.
All right, Blue Point. Welcome to the family.
Welcome to the family, fuckers. All right, I quit. Mass Effect. Let's talk about it.
Okay.
Business Insider talked to Mac Walters, who's one of the project directors for Legendary Edition, and kind of one of the higher up faces of the Mass Effect franchise these days, and kind of just he was out there saying it's not a matter of if, but when Mass Effect gets turned into some kind of movie or TV series. You remember they did a deal a while back with Legendary that never came to anything. Mac Walters kind of builds a case here in this interview, talking about how, hey, the Mass Effect franchise is built in a lot of ways like a television show, with each mission kind of going off onto its side story with its A plots and B plots and that sort of stuff, and that type of long form storytelling. The quote here is, so long form storytelling is a great place for game franchises, which I tend to agree that a lot of movies, runtime of a movie is not enough to do justice to a lot of longer video game stories. I don't know. It's all this talk about Mass Effect like it's just back and everyone's cool with that seems really crazy to me.
You don't think it's spent enough time in jail before it's
something like that? I don't know. Like, put out Dragon Age first before you just try to pivot right back to Mass Effect and try to pretend Andromeda didn't happen and that Mass Effect 3 didn't cause a lot of very negative shifts in gaming culture and the online.
Is there an argument for like maybe Mass Effect is never going to be that franchise because it's so tainted by fan expectation? Like since the start, like definitely 2, but like you said, 3 is when the car came off the track. Where like now it's just this. Like it's like there are certain games, right, where a narrative, an internet narrative, a fan narrative, just will forever haunt it. Sometimes it's positive and sometimes it's negative. But like No Man's Sky or maybe Starfield is another one, right, where there'll always be this sort of like meta commentary over it. And Mass Effect to me feels like it's one of those games that just has this weight hanging over it. Like, why would anyone go near it? Like it maybe it's not even worth the amount of hassle and effort and stress to nail the landing, you know?
I bet most of the people that would sign those deals are not even aware of that. You know, they're going to look at the PowerPoint, they're going to look at the sales, they're going to go like, oh, well, yeah, I mean, there was some hubbub about the ending of the trilogy and, you know, Andromeda was buggy or whatever. Like maybe they hear little bits and pieces of that when they're on their fact-finding mission, but I think EA could probably do a pretty good job of kind of papering over that downside when talking about these deals and get something done. Simply because I think a lot of these streaming services, especially if we're talking television, right, either like episodic, like I think all of those platforms are so fucking desperately hungry for content from known IPs, right? That deal gets done anyway.
Yeah, it's probably not even part of the calculus. Like Andromeda, like is just not a part of that. Like, you know, EP being like, well, look, you know, we're gonna have to get across some of that baggage, you know, like it's like no, you know, it's just like
it's like, hey, we're gonna tell a sci-fi story. It's like, okay,
you know,
a sci-fi story with a brand that has like its own day, like Star Wars does. Hey, we have N7 Day. Look at how excited people are for that. That's an actual real easy sell, I think.
Look at the cosplayers.
Yeah, it's one thing I learned last year when I started talking about like the trilogy remaster happening. Is I was like, oh yeah, I know that they're going to do that. Of course they're going to do that. I bet some people will care. And then I found out there's a lot of people who really care a whole lot about Mass Effect, and I was just unaware of this huge audience that is still out there every day, you know, with their N7 stuff in their Twitter bio and stuff. And it was surprising to me, and I think people probably woke up to and realized that as well at EA and said, hey, we need to do something about that sooner rather than later, especially if we do want to make another one of these games. We got to capitalize on this stuff while people are still like, that's their whole identity. And it seems like that's what they're going to do.
If they can put that trilogy out and get that car back on the track, like it helps people forget everything that happened.
Seems to have worked.
And it's it definitely seems like it worked. Like when they showed that little teaser, was that last year when they were like, hey, we're making a new Mass Effect Game Awards, wherever that was. But it's like people went fucking apeshit for it. And you're like, oh, okay. You guys really have short memories about this stuff, huh? It wasn't that long ago that everyone was mega pissed about all of this stuff. But all right, let's go. It's just I'm surprised, but maybe I shouldn't be. When it comes to that stuff, but there you go. Windows 11, they made it through that stream. I mean, when that stream wasn't breaking, they had a rough time on the internet.
Did you hear
that
about
day.
that? Oh my god!
Yeah, the stream crashed. I was trying to watch it that morning, and the stream crashed. I had to refresh. I eventually ended up watching their Twitter stream. Like they were streaming it out on Twitter as well, and that one worked when Microsoft's own site crashed.
People are saying like Edge like was the only browser that wouldn't run it for a moment, and you're just
like, what? Nice. So they gave some details about Windows 11, the next version of Windows due out later this year, free upgrade generally speaking, and they made it through that whole presentation as far as I can tell. I was kind of in and out of the room, but I'm pretty sure they got through it without making any kind of like, this Windows goes to 11. Like they sidestepped all the Spinal Tap shit. So I just want to applaud them for not going there, because Jesus, like I was going into that thing on like they're gonna they're going to say, because because the setup is there, right? They were like, Windows 10 is the last Windows ever, and why are we making Windows 11? It was like, because this one's fucking cranked up, bro. Like this is like they're
Ballmer never would have let that opportunity go. He would have done that 100%.
$500.
Yeah, he's trying to. Ballmer's trying to charge money for Windows 11 over here, but it's current Microsoft
chapter for Microsoft. Yeah. It's not. This is not the up to 11 Microsoft. So.
Yeah, it was like a very the presentation felt very human in a way that I don't remember the gentleman's name who was speaking, but he's talking about like connecting with his family and stuff. It felt like this very
Panos. Yeah,
Panos. It felt very human in a way that I feel like Microsoft isn't always great at, even where he was stumbling over his words a little bit, talking about these, emotions and stuff. And I was like, oh, they're doing a good job of this. But then I was like picking apart, going like, but no, is that what they're trying to do? Like, yeah, it was just, yeah.
When they were announcing that Android tablet that they built, like Panos, like he has a certain way of doing these things where he delivers it in a way that he himself is even surprised that they did the thing, where he's sort of like, he'll just be like, and here it is. I can't believe it, but it's actually, it's here.
Wow, that's really good, Bacalar.
It's just like, there's something about his delivery that is just off, like maybe 4 degrees, where you're just like,
I like it though. It's
weird,
but I like it.
Yes, it is.
I cannot look away.
Yeah, but it is like a thing that you're just like, I gotta see how this is gonna go.
Yeah. So some gaming related details as it relates to Windows 11 here that the Xbox Wire went ahead and summarized. They're bringing some of the Xbox stuff over to the PC. Auto HDR, which kind of debuted there widely on the Series X. They're gonna bring that over to PC, assuming you have an HDR screen, which I still don't on my PC anyway. And direct storage, which is the fast loading. Hey, we're going to just launch assets directly at your GPU and bypass all these other bottlenecks, assuming you have a fast NVMe SSD. And they didn't really give too many details around what they consider to be a fast NVMe SSD, but they will sell things as direct storage ready.
Already more information than PS5
or like exactly. Yes, exactly. When PS5 announces their drive list, those will be the ones. Direct storage optimized is something they'll be able to say, like OEMs and stuff selling systems will be able to say, hey, this is ready to do that thing. The fast loading has ended up being one of the coolest things about these new consoles, and so bringing that to PC. I mean, people have had SSDs on the PC for years, right? Those games usually load pretty fast, but not as fast as they used to. So any improvement here, I'd be down for.
Yeah,
sure. The one thing that stood out to me was they're finally gonna get rid of the Windows 8 code base that's in the Windows Store and replace it with modern code. That thing has been a nightmare to use for so long because of all that Windows 8 legacy stuff. And they're gonna like change how they sell stuff. They already announced the 1288 percentage split with developers a while back. They're going to keep that for games, but if you like have an app and you want to come in there and bring your own payment processing, you can do that and not give any money to Microsoft. And as someone who is extremely lazy, and while I appreciate going out and finding like sideloading stuff and getting stuff off the web, I actually would use a Windows Store to get like the simple stuff. Like I used it to get Slack. I got Slack from the store. A lot of stuff isn't on there because they don't want to share money with Windows, and so I'm hoping that actually gets a lot more use.
Yeah, and there's been some cases where some apps you get them out of the Windows Store and they're different than the versions that you would just go download from a website in ways that are just like, well, the Microsoft Store lags behind on some updates, and you're like, well, I'm just gonna go download the real one and not dick around with this store. And so this probably helps sidestep that process.
There was like weird stuff with like I think it was just like shell stuff where you would have like the Windows 10 Slack version as opposed to like the executable that Slack would just let you run.
The Win32, but now it's all Win32 going forward, I think. So it should be better.
And like that would show up in like the built-in notification sort of environment that they've been trying to get off the ground for so long. yeah,
Just
I'm
messy.
cautiously
It's-
optimistic. You
It's
know,
the type of stuff you don't get with the, the Apple gets it for free with their sort of walled garden, whereas they've always sort of been riding the line or whatever. So yeah, I'm with Grubb. I think I would like to have that stuff sort of more, contained. Like I really like my Adobe Creative Cloud platform.
Yeah.
Everything updates on it. All my fonts are loaded. Like
Right.
it all works there. I'm happy to take that. The rest of it.
the funny thing about Windows is like, I feel like every time there's a Windows upgrade, you get to the point in the timeline of the current Windows where like things just start to fucking feel like they're being held up with duct tape and weird shit.
Yeah.
By the end of it, you're just like, fuck, I need a clean slate. Let's do another Windows.
Yeah.
Like that's what I feel like we're almost kind of there with 10, or at least
We are, because
now
you
those-
see you see the areas, especially around games, right, where you like they have this separate Xbox app now that when you try to install a game, if you then go load the Microsoft Store, it'll show the download happening there too, because it's really just triggering that one to do with the thing, and
Right.
like it's just this clunky ass process that like in the Game Pass games install in a weird way still, where they want to be installed in a very specific way. They've fixed some aspects of that, but it still is just funky enough that like hopefully just they can kind of wipe the slate clean for all of that and just make it a lot easier to deal with, help make Game Pass games more moddable in some cases, easier to capture in OBS, because some of those UWP apps are funky when you try to get your hooks in them to stream them. It'd be nice to just see a lot of that stuff change. And then you'll have to enable secure boot, I guess, is the other piece of this.
Yeah, that stuff is I find it fascinating, the technology, because this, and again, I feel like I understand what. So this is, they're talking about TPM, which is a trusted platform module, which is essentially hardware that could live on the CPU itself or in like a motherboard. And I feel like I understand how it works enough to like know what the net result is. Maybe like all the kind of details in between and the sort of fine details of it, I'm a little dicey on. But the way I understand it is like it is literally a hardware lock that is on paper unhackable. I don't know how it works. I don't know if there's like a weird little vacuum that exists between things. So like it can't be infected with hacker ooze or whatever the fuck it is. I would imagine this is all in a response to those like massive CPU breaches that happened a couple years ago, where there was like 2 or 3 catastrophic.
Like, hey, these are all fucked. These are all fucked. Sorry, they're all bad.
Real bad, everybody.
Yeah,
I swear Intel said Intel at one point was like, any chip made after 84 is fucked. Like you're just like, huh? Like, what? Every chip, really? But I would imagine this tech is in response to it. Odds are, if you bought a machine recently, you're going to be all right. But from what I found personally is that the TPM is not a thing that's like activated automatically. You have to go into your BIOS and sort of like flip the digital switch yourself.
Yeah,
it seems scary because like if you do that, there was like some sort of warning where it was like, you sure you want to do that? You're like, why? What's going to happen if the power goes out or something weird happens? Like, seems like there is some point of no return.
I started doing it, and so I went to my BIOS and I'm like, well, I'll just go turn this stuff on now and then see what's up. And I went to go turn it on, and it's like, yeah, you can't do that because the CSM is loaded and you got to go turn that off. And I was like, what the fuck is a CSM? So I had to go through all the other pages of the BIOS to find it was like a compatibility layer of just like, well, if you have older peripherals that are not UEFI ready, then you need to turn this on. But if you turn it off, it'll boot faster. I'm like, great, all my shit's new enough. I'll turn all that shit off and it should be good. So I turn that off, but then then it's like a step of like, okay, now you have to generate hardware keys. I'm like, okay, all right, yes, I had a PGP key back in the day. Crypto baby, let's get mining. And started turning all that stuff on, and then stopped just short of actually enabling it all the way because my daughter started freaking out. And I'm like, okay, I gotta go. But yeah, I've heard some folks say that their motherboards have popped messages saying like, oh, you can turn all this on, but you're gonna have to erase everything.
Oh wow!
Like, wait a minute, you have to wipe a hard drive to do this? Like, so I don't know if that's. I saw a couple of people complaining about that, and I was like, I don't know if that's going to be a widespread issue or not. But in some ways, it feels like this has kind of been a long time coming. Like these modules have existed for a good long time. It's just I think they talked with Windows 10 about maybe requiring this and then back down from it. So maybe this seems like all right, we're serious this time. Turn this on.
I mean, everything I've read has led me to believe like the pros outweigh the cons here. And the way at which they're going about, I mean, look, they have a lot of more education to do in terms of like what TPM is, how you know you have it. I mean, it is a no-go for installing Windows 11. So you absolutely need it. And they're basically like no exceptions, maybe aside from like, I don't know, fucking like NASA's computers or whatever. But like they are pretty, clear on like the situation. They're doing these like, you can download some sort of like hardware checker and see if it's been activated on your machine, and then they've updated that a little bit to be more transparent. It just seems like it's not fun and not a great situation to be in, but I guess, like I said,
they've got a handful of months to educate people about what all that stuff is, because they're out this holiday. But yeah, I could see that being confusing for people. I like the look of it generally. I don't want my taskbar to be centered. I want it to be, I want to be able to grab my mouse, slam it down left. Yeah, and you can change it back. I want to be able to do that sightless of just like, yep, I know I'm over the start button right now because I moved my mouse down to the corner. And yeah, centering it, pretty, but yeah, I don't know. Weirdly, I get weirdly excited about Windows upgrades and all that. Got my Bill Gates signature edition Windows, box out in the garage.
I got Windows 95 as a 13th birthday present, so I'm there with you, man. I remember that box.
I still got my Windows 95. I still got my Windows 95 beta on floppies out in the garage. We'll get that going these days.
Bring that to your CNET job interview. Your 13th birthday.
This is how serious I am about Windows. You got to hire me.
How do you think I got fucking hired, man?
I wonder if this will lead to they touched on it but didn't really get too far into it, but they're going to let people run Android apps on Windows 11. And I wonder what that does for gaming, because there are just a lot of mobile games and stuff that would be like, I've flirted with and uninstalled and reinstalled BlueStacks a lot of times over the years, which is an Android emulator. If you Google it or look it up, it's always people going like, so this thing's like full of malware, right? This thing's a nightmare, right? And it's just, you're never quite sure if it's safe or not. It's just a lot of very spammy looking websites saying, yes, of course it's safe. You should definitely install it. We did the research. It's good. And you're like, for all I know, the bad people wrote this. But what it does do is it will kind of force install, like there's a paid tier, but it will force install apps out of the Android store onto your fake Android device on Windows, which seems to be artificially driving up installs for certain games that are probably paying BlueStacks to do it and all this other stuff. But it's like shady in its own way, even if it's not malware. Like there are a handful of mobile games I would like to be able to play on a desktop for a variety of reasons, whether it's just like, it's, controller support, or I guess that all that stuff's Bluetooth now, but like, it'd be neat if people could play like a Call of Duty mobile on Windows 11 just as another option if they want to check that out there. I think that'd be kind of cool.
What's funny is, Google and Microsoft do have this relationship when it comes to those OSs. Like that's the sort of thing where like I'm occasionally uniquely qualified to talk about that because I've only ever had an Android phone. And like even right now, like my phone is connected to Windows. So like I don't know if it mirrors the one-to-one sort of experience you get when you have an Apple along with your iPhone, but I would imagine it accomplishes a lot of the same sort of things. And it is that is a relationship they've been, anytime there's a new Pixel or, or there is a flagship Microsoft event, like they go out of their way to kind of like scratch each other's backs and be like, we're in this together for the long haul. And like together we could maybe make a dent in Apple in that regard.
Yeah. And some aspect of them setting the store prices the way they are is well timed with, everyone taking a hard look at Apple and their app store policies and all the other stuff to just be like, we'll do it for free. And like, oh, bring your own payment stuff. You're like, okay. Yeah, it's interesting times around that stuff. Some more Microsoft news. They have upgraded the cloud. We got a new clouds. They're vaping much harder now. They've got virtual vapor chambers, and they've got Series X style hardware powering a lot of the games on Xbox Game Pass Ultimate Streaming. I think, is that the full name of that thing? They should have just kept xCloud.
Yeah.
So there's a list of these. They haven't necessarily put out a full list themselves, but there's been a lot of anecdotal stuff of people running games like Outriders, Destiny. What else here? Dark Alliance, MLB The Show, No Man's Sky, Gears 5. According to a list on Video Games Chronicle here that they've assembled, that these games now seem to be running Xbox Series X level hardware, whereas before all of it was kind of Xbox One style. So like Outriders was the one I was playing off and on, and going from playing it on a real Series X to playing it in a browser. Here you just look at it and go like, yeah, this is grungy on top of grungy, because you're running the old version of the game and doing all this other stuff. That's much sooner. They talked about it happening in the coming weeks, but then they kind of just turned this around quickly. So this is all happening a little bit sooner than I guess I thought it would. And that's pretty rad. It's something that they kind of needed to do, right?
Yeah, the thing this is going to lead to is getting the xCloud stuff on the Xbox One consoles. So,
right.
You'll be able to play Flight Sim and stuff on there when that happens.
Oh, nice.
So this is all getting ready for that. Like I had heard that right before E3, and then they did that brief at E3 where they basically said this is what the roadmap was going to be. So yeah, by the end of this year, you should be able to play like Xbox Series X stuff on your Xbox Ones. So yeah, that's a big leap.
Yeah, I think that felt like where they were always headed with this stuff. And as part of that brief, they said like, hey, we're going to have our own custom streaming hardware and some of this other stuff too. So they're definitely looking at different ways to get people into these games. Speaking of which, you can now do it on an iPhone in a web browser. That is rolled out as well. Whoa, I've not tried that yet. I've mostly been playing it in Edge because I'm a Firefox user, and every time you try to load the cloud stuff on Firefox, it's like, you should use Chrome or Edge. All right, I don't have Chrome installed, so Edge, you're up. But yeah, that's cool. That's been a long time coming. It's not the way I still wish that stuff, like I've messed with it on an Android device a little bit, and I feel like that's just a better, cleaner experience than the web browser stuff. But at some point it's splitting hairs, and it's Apple being Apple. So maybe that will all change depending on how these court cases go. Finally, the news here, the CEO of CD Projekt Red says that Cyberpunk performance has reached a satisfying level. These were remarks given by Adam Kaczynski, I believe is the pronunciation there. And the CEO, as part of a Warsaw Stock Exchange Innovation Day. The quote here that Video Games Chronicle pulled is, "We've also been working on improving the overall quality, which we are also quite happy about. Of course, we also removed bugs," and this is translated, I believe. "We've also removed bugs and visual glitches, and we will continue to do that. Over time, we will also be introducing improvements to the general game systems that players have highlighted." So they're finally done with the bugs, I guess, or wrapping up on the bugs part, and now they can make the game better. They should have not put this game out.
Yeah,
this is crazy.
This game's kind of just a bummer now, because like the hype for it beforehand was so high, and I played it and I thought it was okay, but it was clearly not what they promised, and I'm just over it. I'm so over it now. Yeah. I don't care that they think it's satisfying. All right, good luck with that. I mean, maybe someday you'll be able to sort of build this back up into that Witcher 3 story of like, man, look at all the support and how well they did with that. But at this point, I don't even, like, I see the yellow text thing and I zone out. So yeah, that's where I'm at with this, where I just don't even want to hear about it anymore.
I mean, I finished it. Like at the end of the day, like I chugged through it around launch and before all these bugs hit, and fought my way through the PC version of the game. And I think it needs a lot of improving to just the gameplay systems and all the other stuff to just be like a better game on that front. Like, the performance and all the other stuff. Like, yes, obviously, but like, I know how that story ends. It's not, you know, unless they're going to go back in and change all that. Like, I don't think the story was particularly great also. So this just, yeah, they should fix it. They should continue to do the work. But you know, increasingly it just feels like that ship has sailed, and, you know, they will have a fresh shot at it when the PS5 and Xbox Series X versions hit. They're still claiming that will be out later this year. But man, when you think about the size, the potential impact that game could have had, critically and sales wise and all this other stuff, for like how ready people were for that game to what they shipped and how damaging that has been to that entire company's reputation. You have to wonder, like, are they kicking themselves going like, yeah, we should have just given it 6 more months? And
they were clearly in denial for a long time about it too, just trying to like saying, hey, we could.
That was the worst part.
It's still good. It's still good. It's that Homer Simpson thing with the ham or whatever. It's still good. It's still good. And they just ended up making everyone else mad at them and getting put in Sony's penalty box for 6 months, which was a weird thing, right? That's 6 months just seems like that was pre-decided how long that would be. Like, we're just gonna straight up punish you. This has nothing to do with like whether the game's ready or not, or you're just getting punished now. I mean, they deserved it the way they threw Sony under the bus. So just bad decisions all around.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I think on that front, like, should Sony have a better refund policy in place? Yes, absolutely. But if you look at that as a partnership between a first party and a third party, CD Projekt Red going public with here's what you do, with maybe not informing Sony of that ahead of time.
Especially when you have the marketing deal with Microsoft, and Sony's not going to have a very long leash with you. Clearly, it was a poor call.
Yes, yes, that probably could have all been handled better. There's probably a handful of things that they wish, the decisions they wish they had back over there at CD Projekt Red. But
yeah, I wonder what happens next, right? We can see the next step, which is that, like, sort of, you know, we are fixing the game, or we're going to put out the next gen version, and that'll be sort of a little bit of clean slate time. But I do wonder what happens next, because in a way it does mirror the evolution of The Witcher, where you had a lot of junior developers, a lot of people in new positions that, you know, working on this game. The first game ends up being a completely buggy mess. The second game ends up having this, like, fans who, like, were stalwarts for it, and then The Witcher 3 is the one that people actually played and cared about. So I wonder if, you know, do we see something similar for Cyberpunk, where the second game, suddenly the narrative around it is people pushing for them to nail it properly. You know what I mean? Like we've seen with so many of these other games that have sort of risen from the ashes.
Yeah, I think that potential is there. It's just a matter of, like, what's it going to take for them to get that credibility back with the fan base. Like, it still doesn't quite feel like they're there. So that a next game, like, if they announced a follow-up right now, you'd be like, wait a minute, you haven't made good on the first one yet. Like, what, are you just going to sell me another one in what, 7 years? What are we doing? You know, so it's like, there's just, like, do they even make a second Cyberpunk game? I
think so. I think with the technology investment you do in that, it was the first time they'd made a first-person game. It was the first time they'd made a shooter. Like, it was a whole other way of making games for them that I think you don't. And this game made a profit. Like, it's made a killing for them. But, you know, as damaged as it is, I think you have to go again. I suspect, though, that they will. I wonder if they will go into they're so big now, they bulked up so much for this game, that I do wonder if they start to co-develop and or at least do 2 projects at the same time, you know? Yeah. To do another Witcher, to get people on board again. Similar to what's the Bethesda Games studios have done as well, with saying, like, oh, we're doing another Elder Scrolls, but also here's this other, you know, Starfield game that's come out.
Yeah, I think a palate cleanser of a good solid new Witcher game would probably do a lot for them to get some distance between this and whatever's next, for sure. So
remaster the first one. Just do the first one. People just want to play more Witcher, and they want to play more Geralt. So or the second one, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, you're probably right. You're probably right. I mean, if Mass Effect has shown us anything, is that people are
right.
I was going to say suckers, but suckers. Maybe suckers is the right word.
I'm definitely a sucker.
Yeah, I am too. God damn it. I'm an idiot. All right. That's going to do it for news. Let's take another break. We'll come back. We'll read some of your emails. And stay tuned. There are only 2 FDA-approved medications that can prevent hair loss, and Keeps offers both. That's right, Keeps offers a simple, stress-free way for you to keep your hair. Visit a doctor virtually. You don't have to leave your home. They will deliver these medications straight to your door every 3 months. Treatments start at just $10 a month because Keeps offers generic versions. This is the same ingredients used in the big expensive stuff, but they pass that savings, as they say, on to you in discreet packaging with proven results. Keeps has more 5-star reviews than any of its competitors. Prevention is key. Treatments can take 4 to 6 months to see results, so act now. If you're ready to take action and prevent hair loss, go to keeps.com/bomb to receive your first month of treatment for free. That's keeps.com/bomb to get your first month free. keeps.com/bomb. That's Keeps. Blue light. I like a shiny blue light, but look, blue light can cause eye strain. It's just, it can just, your eyes, they're not meant to be looking at screens all day. So Felix Gray designed glasses to make daily screen time more comfortable and make the workday more productive. Just let's face it, you're spending more time than ever staring at your computer, a phone, a tablet, a television screen, all that sort of stuff. So many sources of blue light blazing into your eyes. That's where Felix Gray comes in. These are not like other blue light lenses. Felix Gray lenses filter 15 times more blue light that can make screen time rough on your eyes and disruptive to sleep. They have non-prescription and prescription available. You can check them out now at felixgrayglasses.com/bombcast. And they got a lot of different classic frame style. You know, these are made out of acetate. They're hand finished for a durable, lightweight, and comfortable pair of glasses. They're sending some of these out. I don't know. I'm around a lot. This is one, let me count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There are 7 screens in this room. A lot of blue light. That's a lot of blue light. So, you know, maybe some glasses help with that, right? Check it out. You can get yourself a pair of glasses made for the 21st century and designed for modern, hard-working eyes. You have nothing to lose except maybe your eye strain. Go to felixgrayglasses.com/bombcast for the best blue light glasses on the market. That's FELIXGRAY glasses.com/bombcast. Free shipping, free returns, free exchanges. That's felixgrayglasses.com/bombcast. All right, we're back, and now it's time for emails. Bombcast@giantbomb.com is the email address you will send emails to if you want them to be read by me, and I will summarize the ones about various parts of the world that you don't like, and instead choose the ones that which is all literally, it was 100% England this week. I don't.
Okay.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
People can feel free. There's lots of places that I don't like. You know, Kilkenny is always an option. Dublin sometimes. I'm not particular. You know, the other side of Waterford as well. So you know, just feel free to explore the space.
Luma, California, I think kind of sucks. There's a lot of there's a lot of bad places around the country. But I skipped all that stuff. But thank you for sending it in just the same. I will keep people apprised of which parts of the world are most hated by the Bombcast audience. Neil from Ireland writes in and says, what's the best Bomberman game? Are there any, or is my love of Atomic Bomberman all nostalgia? Also, I can't be the first to say Giant Bomberman. Possible tie-in?
What did you guys call Mega Bomberman? Because presumably it wasn't called that on the Genesis.
I think it was just called Bomberman.
Okay.
I think I'll have to look now. But yeah, the Genesis version of Bomberman.
This is my it was my first, so it's kind of like the Mario Kart thing, maybe, where like it's my favorite because
Right.
it had a good campaign with the kangaroos you could jump on. It had all the multiplayer flavor. It had bots you could play local with 4 people because it was if you had the multi-tap, it was a good time.
Yeah, that's I'm trying to look to see what it was called. It may have just been called Mega Bomberman here as well. I'm not actually positive because all I see are PAL boxes for it, so it's hard to.
You never got it.
We did get it, but it happened in '95. So yeah. Anyway, I think Bomberman '93 is my favorite Bomberman game for the Turbo. It's one of the last ones before they filled it full of dinosaurs and people around the edges of the screen and all that other whack shit that kind of turned it into like a Mario Party ass joke. 93 is when it was real, baby. And 93 is when I won a tournament for it. So it has to be the best one by default.
What did you win?
So we went to see, this would have been CES before there was an E3. Me, Ryan McDonald, and Glenn Rubenstein all went out there to hang out and play video games or whatever. TTI, Turbo Touch Industries, I think was the name of the company that was repping the Turbo in the US. They had a tournament in Bomberman 93 that we won pretty handily and won a trip to Cancun.
Oh,
what? Did you cash it out or did you go?
Neither,
because you were 15 or something.
Because we were 16 and we won a trip to goddamn Cancun. I was prepared to go. I had talked my parents into that, like saying that was okay. I think Glenn had as well, and then Ryan's parents were like, "Fucking absolutely not! What?" And so they sent us the tickets, and then we had to FedEx them back to TTI's PR team. I think they were pissed because they were going to go as well. It was like one of those things where like there used to be a lot of video game industry events. You could tell that like the PR team booked the event because they wanted to go there on like a paid vacation. And so they're like, well, let's have Captivate in Hawaii. Fuck it. Right. It was easy for anyone. But yeah, so I got the impression that they were even more bummed because it meant that they didn't get to go either.
Oh man. Because you guys not have gone without Ryan.
The whole thing fell apart for a variety of reasons. I think once Ryan was out, I think a lot of it just kind of it didn't make sense for us to be 16 going to Cancun anyway. So it was just
fair. Yeah,
I mean, you survived Vegas. Like it wasn't
true.
As if,
Exactly. Survived Vegas and Chicago. We took a trip to a movie theater in a very sketchy part of Chicago one of those years and was like, oh, we have no idea what we're doing anywhere we go because we are very 16. So yeah, that's the best Bomberman. In conclusion, that's the best Bomberman.
They're great.
I've been playing a little bit of the one that just came out, the Battle Royale thing that just came out for PS4. That was a Stadia game originally. It's free to play and you can buy a battle pass and all this other stuff. And it's like there are aspects of it that are cool, but then they put a bunch of like Pyramid Head and Solid Snake and all this other stuff in it and gave them abilities.
That, they have stat boost and stuff. It's weird.
Yeah, it just fucks up the purity of Bomberman. Like it's not meant to be that.
Like Pyramid Head can come and like hit you with an axe or whatever he does, like with his side. Like he can do that. He can just like melee you, which is weird.
Walk at like 5% of the speed of every other Bomberman.
Yeah, I think he's a little bit slower or something. Yeah. It's weird.
But then also like they charge money for those characters, I think, in some cases. So it is literally like you're paying for these weirdly, seemingly overpowered abilities. I don't know.
They got Bruce Willis?
Not yet. Not yet. I'm hoping that my Bruce Willis will just come right in, that they'll do the deal with Activision
NFT.
To just like,
my
Bruce Willis NFT is going to pay off someday. You'll see. You'll all see. Nick in Australia writes in with a question for the genre dicks. In the sim racing community, the Gran Turismo and Forza Motorsport games are not considered racing simulators. Depending on how charitable the people in the community are being, they will refer to them as either simcades or gateway sims.
Wow.
Oh, I like that. That's good.
Right.
Simcade. That's beautiful.
From your point of view,
Very
from outside the
dismissive.
sim racing community, what is the difference between a racing game, a racing sim, and potentially a game type that is in the middle of those two extremes?
I think that's easy enough. Yeah.
Yeah, I play a bunch of. I got a race wheel set up, a chair in the room next door, and like I play the Formula One game on it, and that's not even a sim. Like that, and that's pretty technical. Like that's way more technical than Forza or Gran Turismo, the real driving simulator. Like I think it's games where, you know, aspects of like torque and wheel spin and grip and like mechanical grip and aero, and like when those things are part of the process of playing the game and not just like window dressing you don't even notice or something like that, much like in racing, I think that's when it becomes a sim. And all at this stage, I feel like you have to have wheel support. If your game doesn't have like wheel support and pedal support, then it's not even in question.
It's not a sim. Yeah.
No, can't be.
I view it as, I think this is something that like, it was one of those genres that meant different things depending on if you were talking about PC or console, that like now that stuff has merged a lot, it's a little funky, but I still view it as you've got your Need for Speeds in the arcade racing category. GT and Forza are sims. And then the further you go in that direction, those are just games for complete whack jobs. And we wish them the best.
Right.
I think I respect the shit out of iRacing and all that other stuff, but I just look at it and go like, you guys have fun, man. Fuck.
Right. But like, if you like called iRacing a game around them, they would get mad and say, no, it's a simulator. That's the group we're talking about. Yeah.
And some of these are bad games. Like, Project Cars, I think, when it first came out as well, it was like not a great game, but it was like if you liked, you know, setting up like specific cars on specific tracks, or like a set of Corsa, or certainly iRacing. Like they're not good games that are like ready for you to beat them and play them and enjoy them. Like they are definitely sort of more in the like, you know, tool set. Like not quite like what's weird is then you get games like Microsoft Flight Simulator, which is absolutely a sim, but also they've somehow managed to make it so that it's like accessible to people who don't want to play it as a sim. Like you can kind of like, I mean, it's going to come out on consoles with like controller support, right, and you can turn off a lot of that stuff, and they kind of nailed it. So I think like it is, this is like the blurriest of genre.
I wonder if that flight sim team looked at Forza, because, you know, if we set aside the part where some people don't think Forza is a sim, like the different levels of assistance in Forza is what makes it so accessible to so many different people. You can turn that off and have something of a sim-esque experience, to be charitable, I guess. But like with those assists on, it definitely starts to blur that line even more, where it's like, I am doing racing the way, you know, I am caring about my racing line, and I am braking going into turns instead of just banging my way around them. And that, to me, that's the difference. So like if you have to hit the brakes, it's a sim. But those levels of assistance make it so that anyone can enjoy it. And I think Flight Simulator just took that to a new level in a lot of ways, where they're just like, you know, because it's a much more complicated thing in some ways. So yeah, I don't know. That's where I fall on it.
Especially because when it comes to car racing and like different motorsports, and also like airplanes and stuff like that, what you think of as being knowledge that you sort of have consumed and take for granted, and the sort of bleeding edge of your knowledge of a topic is always a moving target. So to use something can be quite simulator, that like even yourself 3 years later, having learned more about this topic, now that feels like the easy stuff. You know what I mean? So like, that's why it's so hard to make these games, right? Because like the Formula One game is a great example where you can play that thing on a controller, and there's all these different, you know, helps and whatnot, or you can turn them all off, and you know, it's way more difficult. But even that isn't at the sim level of something like iRacing. So yeah, it's different for everyone, and it's also moving all the time too.
It's a scary rabbit hole for sure. All right, let's see here. Nathan in Cleveland, Ohio writes in and says, seeing that this year is the 25th anniversary of Quake, I wanted to share my somewhat unique experience of playing the shareware version for the first time. In the summer of '96, I was getting ready to start high school in the fall, and a requirement of my high school's advanced placement curriculum was to do job shadowing for at least a week. I decided to job shadow my dad the same week the shareware version of Quake was released. This was especially convenient because his office was the only access I had to computers powerful enough to run Quake, and a T1 line that could download it in a reasonable amount of time. However, the reason my experience really stands out is where my father worked. In '96, he was lieutenant colonel in the Army stationed in D.C., Long story short, I'm fairly certain I'm the first person to ever play Quake inside the Pentagon.
That's pretty cool. That's a good story.
That's dope.
That's tremendous.
Oh,
that's
man.
That's an out as well, because when they asked about like your work experience, you could be like, it's classified. I can't tell you about it. It's like it's all
I learned a lot.
Demons and shit. And
Slipgates. They're working on all kinds of crazy stuff over there.
You know, there's pentagrams in the Pentagon. I
mhm.
don't know.
Connect the
This was
dots,
meant to
Jan. Yep.
That's always been the case. Eric in Springfield writes in and says, to follow up on who would win in a Kiss versus Aquabats fight, Kiss does possess superpowers and put them on display in the Hanna-Barbera made-for-TV movie Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park. Ace Frehley, a.k.a. the Spaceman, can shoot lasers and teleport. Peter Criss, a.k.a. the Catman, has superhuman agility and leaping powers. Paul Stanley, a.k.a. Starchild, can control and read minds. Gene Simmons, a.k.a. the Demon, has superhuman strength and can breathe fire. Despite the band not allowing anyone in their presence to speak of the movie and Peter Criss's acting being so bad they had to dub over all his lines, I consider the film to be canonical and definitive proof that they would defeat the Aquabats in battle.
Did you guys talk about Psycho Circus when this came up?
No.
Someone needs to pick that for the
there you
Guilty
go.
Treasures. They got it.
I thought you wanted a good game.
Yeah.
So
Better than Daikatana.
The thing I'll say to Eric here is that I did consider Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park when we had our conversation last week.
Oh, wow.
And that they are so ineffective and terrible that I don't think it sways me at all in Kiss's favor.
No impact.
Yeah, no, that movie, it's worth taking a look at. If you haven't seen it, it's a magical moment of cinema. It's a real train wreck of a film.
I guess I kind of knew about this, but people fucking hate Kiss. Like, people just hate that band.
People hate Gene
so
Simmons,
much.
I think, as well.
Yeah, they hate Gene. I think they hate Gene Simmons the more and more time goes on. But I guess, Kiss was before my time, so I never really wrapped my head around it. I was sort of just like, oh, these guys, like, I dig their costumes for what it was when I was like 12 and first made aware of what Kiss was. But people fucking hate them. Holy shit.
I think when Kiss, the first time I was like seeing like modern Kiss or like, hey, Kiss is putting out stuff, it was when they took the face paint off. It was like that era when they're fucking like acoustic set for MTV or whatever, and you're just like,
they let the music speak for itself.
Worst
Oh no.
I think over the years there's probably a couple of Kiss songs that I would call catchy, but I am one of those people. I fucking hate Kiss. Like, as a concept, there's a couple of songs I think are pretty good, but man, I just think Kiss fucking sucks.
Gene Simmons seems very insecure. He seems, ICP and Glore did this stuff so much better. Absolutely.
Agreed. Yeah. Maybe Kiss had to walk for them to run, though.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Does Kiss get credit for that?
Yeah,
no, I'm saying for being the costume metal or like the costume rock band. Like, there's got to be people.
Did they just like invent and then reinvent how to merchandise a band? I think that's the thing that ICP learned from, is because ICP's merchandise game is like crazy, but but I don't know if they make coffins, and I don't know that they made comic books that have their own blood in them the way Kiss supposedly did.
Did Kiss make soda? Or I guess they don't even make soda.
No,
they just make Faygo money.
They nearly adopted the Faygo, right?
Yeah, that's maybe the dumbest business move ICP has made. Is to give all that money away.
If you
they're paying to throw that Faygo around.
If you really like ICP's song "Miracles," then you will love Fast 9.
Oh,
Wow. What a jump.
We are forgetting Alice Cooper. The chat points out Alice Cooper actually gets credit for all this. So our bad. You're right. You're right. My bad.
Yeah. Completely irrelevant. Might as well erase them. Alice fucking Cooper.
Also very good in Wayne's World.
So are people
and on the Muppet Show.
Yeah.
So are people trying to link that maybe Kiss is also tangentially responsible for VTubers?
Whoa. How do you make that jump?
I don't think there's a single VTuber who would know what Kiss is. So you go talk to him about it. No way.
The line is somewhere there. It's somewhere there.
There's probably something there. James in Missouri writes in, says, what games do you want to see become backwards compatible on Xbox that may never get there? My top 3 are Max Payne 3, Chronicles of Riddick, and Aliens vs. Predator Extinction. I think Riddick is a really solid choice there.
Max Payne 3, I would play the PC version of that is pretty sick looking too. Those games, and that's such a good game. God, I love that game.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of any others.
What else?
Usually, like games that would never get there. Usually, think of like licensed games or games with very heavy licensed soundtracks that would be hard to redo at this point.
Def Jam Icon.
Yeah,
I play that again.
Fight for New York. Oh man.
Yeah.
Does Red Dead have a compatibility mode on it? Red Dead 2, I mean.
Yeah.
Does it?
Yeah.
It has like a new console sheen.
I think it might have some kind of half-step upgrade there. Like it's not fully optimized, but there's
loads
some
faster.
Yeah.
It does. You're right. I remember it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want Mark Echo's Getting Up.
I do enjoy Max Payne 3. I think that's a good call out in a way that I feel like I find myself going back to that game on PC a lot and just sort of playing around.
Maybe I should check that out again, because when that game came out, it was so not Max Payne 1 or 2, and so many other games had been third-person shooters and stuff that I found it to feel very clumsy and just didn't. Yeah, I don't know. I just didn't like any aspect of it enough to stick with. I bounced off it pretty quick, a couple hours in or something. I was like,
style. The Health did a bunch of the soundtrack on it.
Yeah, that was
Health
the thing that kept me going as long as I did. But
dude, Health and Chino Marino put out a song 2 weeks ago. I was like two artists I love from the complete opposite ends of the spectrum. Well, I guess not that opposite, but I've been banging that one. But yeah, it's Man on Fire, the video game, and it does it really well.
Yeah. Danny, here's a question for you from Jeff in Petaluma, who wants to know, what do you think about Fieldy taking a break from Korn and not touring with them this summer?
He's not.
He said he had to he's fallen into some bad habits and needed to take a step back.
Okay.
And
I respect it.
Yeah.
The opposite is that he stays in too long and he ends up with what happened to Hedge, probably, which is like he maybe should have pulled back a little bit earlier, because then he kind of overcorrected, some might say, in another, with his tattoo choices and placements and the ideas behind those tattoos. Is Jonathan Davis the only person who's not taking a break? Because they replaced the drummer, Sylvain. Remember, he left, I think, also for similar reasons. He was like, I've got this is not a band that, they like to party hard. Has Monkey left at any stage? I feel like he has.
I don't know.
Though.
It's to his credit, Fieldy did say that he would hope to stay creative while he was off, and I'm hoping that we get a follow up to Fieldy's Dreams.
It's always more dreams.
Solo record.
Here's a problem. Fieldy, I mean, they all played like weird, like drop sort of tuned guitars and extra strings. Yeah. But is there anyone else who like hit the bass the way he fucking does? Because he's like, his strings are almost falling apart. It's all down tuned, and then he does the slap. He plays it like a double bass, kind of this way, slapping the like. Is there anyone, like maybe 15, 20 years ago, there was a lot of kids who were like learning to play bass like a crazy nut job like him, like that way. But like, are people like in 2021 doing this? Is he gonna have to like train someone to fucking?
I wonder, because I was in and around bands that were definitely trying to tune that way.
Right.
I wrote a couple of verses for a friend's band that like the guitar players were all tuning down and not that far down, but like definitely in a way of like, we can jump around on stage more because we only have to just put one finger across all of it to get the chords we're going for. And
that's War had a similar sort of ethos. Yeah.
But hey, at least that Elix 2 trailer, proves that Jonathan Davis
can great, right?
Put something together on his own. So at least there's that. Let's see. here.
I'm just not in on, like, I am in on the corn joke, but you guys are way more into corn than I jokingly.
It's the same joke every time.
What's the joke?
I know.
What's the joke, man?
Well, you know the joke. It's just so funny to me because, like, in high school or whatever the fuck they were popular, like they were the joke, and then I walked backwards into this joke this reoccurring joke that you guys have, and I'm just like,
I like those first 5 albums, I will say.
Yeah, that was the biggest band when I was in high school, for sure. Yeah, and then they were going to play at Ozfest, and I skipped it and went to go play Castlevania. I sold my Ozfest ticket and used it to buy Castlevania, Circle of the Moon,
that was the fork in the road,
and I sat at the Taco Bell with the leftover money and ate some Taco Bell and played that on the dark screen Game Boy Advance. So
hell
yeah. Great day.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's deep lore. That's Jeff Grubb lore right there.
Yeah.
Origin story type stuff.
In another universe, you're now filling in for Fieldy because you learned how to play bass that way.
Yeah, you can dread that. Definitely.
Still got the bad habits though.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Josh from North Carolina writes in and says, I recently started taking edibles and discovered that when I'm high, I get better at Tetris. A few weeks ago, I couldn't finish the normal mode in Tetris Effect Connected. But when I tried playing high, I blew through the expert mode in one sitting. I started playing online, and I'm currently in the top 15%. I tried playing again sober, and it was a disaster.
Oh, that's funny.
Self-medication is what this is called.
This is like Jon Stewart in fucking Half-Baked. Just being like, you ever look at the back of a $20 bill on weed?
You ever make a back-to-back Tetris on weed? Has there ever been anything surprising or unexpected that either improved or diminished your skills? There was a time there, this is before I was 21, but there was a time there when I thought that there was a level of like 1 to 3 beers that I would be a little bit better at Street Fighter 2. And then
I've heard
past that point, it was a very fast downhill, like, nope. No, now I am significantly worse and cannot do the moves anymore. But I never measured that. That always seemed like bullshit that we were just telling ourselves because we were sitting around drinking beers and playing Street Fighter 2. I don't know.
I used to think I was better. There was one time I did not get very high very often in Ireland. It was hard to get. And you could only get like resin that you could burn. It was just too much work. But I would sometimes get a yogurt.
What the GLC would call soap bar?
Yeah, it's like the worst of the worst. We live on an island. It's hard to smuggle that stuff in. They cover it in glass and stuff to make it heavier. Probably, but so I would do the whole edible thing where accidentally didn't put 2 hours later I was like, I'm not high, so I'll have some more, and then like had like a yogurt that was just like, it might as well have just had dirt in it, and I'm like eating it, and then like so I did it once in a blue moon. But I'd always play Quake 3, and I used to think I was really good at it, but it was just like unbelievably intense. Like Quake 3 is already like a super fucking like it's fast and widescreen. You do your FOV to 120, and then couple that with the fact that your just entire being is buzzing. It was just like that's what I used to do for fun. Would on my own would just play some Quake 3. But don't do that. Maybe don't do that. Quake 3 or do, I don't know. I'm not
do what makes you happy, right? Like,
yeah, that's true. Edibles helped me enjoy Earthbound for the first time. I had always bounced off it. I never played it when it first came out, and then I got it on the Wii U or whatever and tried it with the edibles, and I'm like, I'm vibing with this. This is a vibe. All right, yeah. But I didn't get better at Earthbound. I don't think. I guess.
They're just based off my like experience in life, not personally, but just observing others. Like there has to be some truth to like. Maybe it doesn't make you a better player, but maybe it loosens you up, right? Like that is why you see people take a shot before they have to speak in public.
Yeah.
Or they, total like airline pilots. No, but I totally understand. Like I play hockey with 5 people who get stoned out of their minds before they play. And they are.
Yeah, it's 95% of hockey players. Absolutely. Yes.
They are exceptional hockey players. And like, I don't think the weed maybe makes them better, but I think it lets them maybe concentrate better or just sort of feel the game in a way that they just can't get when they're sober. I know that sounds a lot like chasing the dragon, but
Yeah.
you know, there has to be some truth to, if anything, putting yourself in a more hyper-focused, relaxed sort of state of mind, I think probably is what that means.
Quieting the rest of the noise in your mind so that you can focus on losing at Quake 3. Maybe.
I went on a 10-game winning streak playing the Pokemon trading card game recently because I had opened up my third eye. I was making the moves that they weren't expecting. I don't care about your ADP deck. I just got this Lycanroc. And
you were stoned.
Great.
I love a sport where booze is involved, like pool or snooker would be like a where they're all just like watching the 90s and they're all still like smoking and drinking. Doing a sport like this long sport where they play for hours, like, and you're still drinking.
Well, that's when the sport becomes the thing you're doing while you're drinking, right? Like when I play golf, everyone just wants to smoke and get drunk, and you're like, golf will be there too, but we're going out on the course to get stoned and drunk and play some golf. Golf will just happen to be where we do all this.
You get darts in a lot of British pubs, and you're like, British pubs are they're small, and then B, like everyone's drinking all the time, and then there's darts being thrown.
They're only in bars.
And they're only ever in bars. Like the only people who have darts boards are people who own bars, or like children who got it as like an 11th year, birthday present or Christmas present or something. Like one with the phone or something. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Take a couple more emails here. Andrew in Ohio writes in and says, as of this email, which he sent, let's see, on Sunday. So this was, I guess, during the Steam sale. So I don't know, maybe that'll skew this a little bit. But as of this email, 3 out of the top 4 global selling games on Steam are first-party Microsoft games: Sea of Thieves, Master Chief Collection, and Forza Horizon 4. In light of Game Pass on PC, this is crazy, right? Yeah, it is kind of. I think it kind of speaks to like, hey, this stuff still sells, or the number of people talking about a game because they got exposed to it on Game Pass can lead to knock-on sales. Plus, they're probably on sale for pretty cheap, which maybe changes some of the financial stuff. But I think you've also got some people that just love Steam and don't want to touch the Microsoft Store so much that they're willing to just buy it on Steam, right?
Is this the new threshold for like physical to digital? Is digital to Game Pass? Like I own it.
Yeah. There's a thing where like they were trying to get people to donate organs more, like agree to do that. And they're like, if we just make it opt out instead of opt in, it goes up like 20% because people are just so lazy that they don't even really check the stuff. It's really, if people are already doing stuff one way, they're not going to do it another way unless there's like some real catastrophic event that forces them off in another direction. So yeah, using Game Pass is like donating organs is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, exactly. Chris writes in and says, longtime listener, first time caller. I've noticed this is, I'd have to take this one because some people said this on Twitter, and I just, I don't mean to take this out on you, Chris, but you're the one who wrote in. I noticed you complaining multiple times about the PS5 vertical stand and it being flimsy and falling off. What you failed to realize is that there's a giant screw included in the box attached to the console. This is clearly stated in the quick setup guide that apparently nobody read. Hope this helps.
Yikes.
So maybe you didn't see the video where when you use the stand to set up the console horizontally, there's a tiny little pocket for you to put the screw in and put it away because you can't use the screw when you lay it down horizontally, people. What the fuck? God damn it.
There's a pocket for the screw?
Yeah, there's a little tiny little
where are you going to put that screw
in the stand?
I don't know,
where are you going to put it?
In the drawer with all the other screws I've kept that I don't know what they're for.
Yeah.
And like speaking of like lazy though, yeah, a lot of people are just going to throw that thing on the ground sideways and not use the stand at all because it's a weird thing to have to like use a stand to put a console on its side. It's a weird design.
It is.
That's
weird.
just the reality of it.
Yeah, but thank you for writing in. That is not how it works. And also, who has room to stand it up vertically in an entertainment center this day and age?
That's a statement.
Yeah, I'm not running a retail kiosk over here. That thing lays down. All right. Let's make this. We got 2 more here. According to some smoke on the street, WB Games Montreal is working on a Superman game. Seems likely they'd take away a bunch of his powers for some comic book reason, and then slowly give them back to give the game some character progression. You think you could enjoy a game where Superman started out with his full power set and you just wreck house on Metropolis for 16 hours? Does a game have to be hard to be fun? Scott from Tacoma. I think doing a Superman game is fun. Yeah, but at the same time, I like Superman is such a difficult character, or maybe it's not a difficult character. Maybe just people just do a bad job with it, and I don't know that I would do a good job making a Superman game, but.
Someone once explained Superman to me in a way. I think it was I don't know if it was Bombcast or Beastcast, but someone wrote in and was like it's probably the most beautiful explanation of why Superman doesn't suck, and I bought into it. That doesn't mean I'm gonna stop making fun of Superman, because Superman I think does still suck, but like you just hit A and you win the game. It's over. Roll credits.
It's not even like the Incredible Hulk game where like half the fun of the Incredible Hulk game is like you're smashing stuff because he's a big monster who smashes stuff. Yeah. Like you can't. Right. That doesn't make sense for Superman. So
unless you're Zack Snyder, and then that's the
okay. Good point. You're right.
Yeah,
but like even he has like a good pitch for it, but I don't know what it is. I think he said it like 5 times, and I'm like I zone out after a little bit. I'm like that sounds okay. Whatever. Good luck with that, Greg.
Yeah.
What if it's the speed? What if it's because like Superman's problem is that he has the ability to save anyone at any time, but not everyone.
Right, that's it.
All the
that's
time.
the thing.
Like
he could like fly through rings and stuff.
Yeah, fly through some rings and really do some speed challenges. Like, I think that's definitely the way.
Glide them. Yeah,
it was a good one at gliding Nintendo 64, right? That was they kind of
be a good platform for that kind of idea. I think so.
Yeah.
Like something like that where you got to make
very far. What if like there was just a lot of fog and
I forgot about that.
Yeah, I don't know. I have never been a big Superman fan for a variety of reasons, but then the way he kind of continually gets used in some of these stories is just like, what if Superman was bad? You're like, all right, okay. Like when Christopher Reeve did it and grew his 5 o'clock shadow and was drinking in that bar, it was very funny in that movie.
Yeah, that's amazing.
But I don't know. Superman's just, I think it's a super boring character. I just always have. It just, could you make a good Superman game that was just you using those powers? Like, sure, but like, I guess most games have upgrade paths of some kind. So at some point you would need to be like, I don't know, he found a diamond prism lens and put it over his eye, and now he shoots a spread shot heat beam. I don't know what the fuck, right? Like,
it's just a challenge not worth solving, right? Like, there's better ideas that are more easily fit with how games work than Superman, and that's why when they're gonna make Superman the bad guy in Suicide Squad, right? That's the whole idea. Like, you're killing him, so. Yeah,
but creative restrictions are good, right? Because they breed innovation. So like now I'm stuck in this idea of like trying to get the stuff, like almost like the third, like the Die Hard with a Vengeance mode in Die Hard trilogy, right? Where it's about getting to the bombs on time, almost Crazy Taxi style. Mm-hmm. Like, what if it's like that in New York, where it's like, yeah, sure, when you get there, the actual act you have to do is trivial, like hitting the bomb, but like getting there, it's like beating up the goons or stopping the purse from getting stolen or whatever. But like actually getting there, it's all about the speed. But then how do you stretch that into like a 40-hour game that people would want to pay $60?
That's why you make it a mobile game, and it's it's
a runner.
Buy different capes. It's a runner, yeah, exactly. And you just go that way with it. Or I don't know, why not? Hey, just give Superman. Is it as easy as the bad guys are also Supermans?
Yeah,
or they're close to it, but there's 3 of them, like Zod. Yeah, do you just do your Phantom Zone style thing?
What if you get to like one of the places and then suddenly somebody like who's going to recognize you or something? So you got to quick do like a Clark Kent, like put the shit on and be like, nothing weird here. Find a telephone box. Fluck up, we're figuring it out here together. We're making
this.
I just want a game of Danny doing the sneaking dance he just did.
Ooh,
fantastic.
Oh,
classic Clark Kent here.
Sneak. Oh yeah,
that's just looks just like him. Superman for the Atari 2600 is the ultimate Superman game. Makes cool noises. Lex Luthor has a helicopter backpack. There's kryptonite satellites that beep around the screen. You can pick up a helicopter. What more do you want? They did it already.
Takes all the boxes.
Wrap it up.
Remasters.
All right. And last little thing here, Mike and Los Gatos wrote in, and this is crazy. He says, in San Jose, apparently they're now cracking down on even talking about where a sideshow might happen. Sideshows have apparently become such a problem that even plugging a sideshow will get you $1,000 fine and up to 6 months in jail. As a longtime Bay Area resident, it just feels kind of like an attack on our way of life to crack down on sideshows this way. What do you think?
That's
Gentrification,
absolutely
baby.
terrible.
Yeah. Sideshows are as American as apple pie. Though somewhat more dangerous. I will grant you that sometimes when I see sideshow footage and it is someone doing donuts while shooting a pistol in the sky, like I have gotten to an age now where I look at that and go like, I'm still split. I'm like, that is one of the most awesome things I've ever seen. And then I'm like, but fuck, it's super not safe.
Yeah, maybe take the pistol stuff out of the way, but like the donuts, that's fine. You know,
I came back from a trip, and one of our like intersection onto like the main road was like clean when I left, and was just like totally rubbered up. I was like, oh, they had some fun while we were away. But what I'm looking forward to is next week, because 4th of July last year in Oakland is just absolutely insane. I drove down around Fruitvale, and this was back when before my Mustang got stolen, so I had the top down, and it was just like they were launching the fireworks off the street, and I was like driving down and they were blowing up. It was the coolest shit. I can't wait for the 4th.
I'm not saying this doesn't happen on the East Coast, but this does. Just a quick search made me realize that this could be maybe a more exclusive West Coast behavioral sort of thing. I'm not saying there aren't sideshows here on the East Coast. I just don't think there are nearly as many, and it is not celebrated in the way you three seem to love it.
It's a real West Coast car culture kind of thing.
I just don't think there's enough room for shit out here is basically like what maybe it is. I don't know.
There was a sideshow, I think in Santa Rosa up here that got busted. They were in the Big Lots parking lot. Just spinning donuts during quarantine, and I was like, yeah, they shouldn't. All those people should be wearing masks. This is stupid. Like that was the thing. I was like, that's unsafe. They should all be wearing masks. The car's spinning donuts inches away from a crowd of people. That somehow I was like, they got it. It's fine. But people get hit by cars doing donuts too. It's not just people shooting guns in the air. Not that happens all the time, but
What's the East Coast equivalent of sideshows now? I can't.
Dude, there was when I lived in Maryland. There was like I think it was Baltimore had like because in Oakland there's a lot of the kids here ride like dirt bikes, right? There's like there's a big crew of like dirt bike.
Yeah, there's like motor
sled necks. Like you got sled necks out there, like in New England area. You got that. You got fucking guys on snowmobiles doing flips and riding on ice and stupid shit like that.
Oh, I don't live, in the Arctic, but like, there's
like, like a Boston area. Like, there's, there's people doing dumb shit in the woods. I feel like that's the East Coast equivalent.
Shooting stuff.
Yeah, like there is stuff like in the, I guess, in the mountains up in New York and Pennsylvania and all that stuff.
I think it was Baltimore it was like quad bikes or 4x4s or something. There was like a crew, culture of that there.
Yeah, something that sounds right. Down there. That sounds right. Yeah.
All right.
Down there. Not too north, not too south. You're just in this little pocket.
I think it's up here a little bit too, but not so much. Like I see that, but
your version is everyone just killing each other on the New Jersey Turnpike, just like road raging hard.
Road rage.
And then going to a diner.
And then going to a diner that's open 24/7. Yeah,
it sells like 600 items.
They're the best places on earth. Yeah, I don't know. Like, if you could drive on the Turnpike, if you could drive on I-95, you can drive anywhere. So, it's an achievement.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for us. Jeff Grubb, thanks for coming and doing the show. Pleasure.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun. Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you for having me. This was a really good time.
Yeah, definitely have you back sometime, and of course, we'll see you Thursday.
Yes,
the debut episode of Grub Snacks.
Yeah, come get some delicious Grub Snacks, everybody. Yeah, I'm gonna feed y'all.
Yeah, awesome. All right, we'll be back next week with a episode of the Giant Bombcast, and Monday, Born to Run will debut.
Starting, baby. Yeah, it's edited. It's in the
Crazy
can.
times.
Can't wait to get it out.
Crazy times. It's in the can. Wow. All right. Awesome. I'm gonna watch that. I get to watch it early.
Yeah.
Take care of yourselves out there. We'll be back next week with another episode of the Giant Bombcast. See you soon.